So good evening, my dear students. Welcome to the last session for this chapter number 3 of auditing and assurance subject. So students, before I'll start for the day today, I would request CA Rajiv Sachdeva sir to share his words of wisdom with you. Students, he is the faculty for auditing with boards of studies with ICAI. And I'm sure that his insights about the auditing and assurance subject, this is going to be very beneficial for all of you. So please consider this as an opportunity, to take the advantage of experience of a very learned person. So sir, I welcome you and over to you.
Thank you, Nancy. Yes, good evening, students. This is CA Rajiv Sachdeva from Board of Studies, and I am faculty in auditing and multidisciplinary case study at final level. Students, I understand that Nancy, CA Vipul Sabu, and have been teaching very well to you, and you should study in a planned manner. This is very important. You should study in a very planned and strategic manner. Why I am saying so, I will tell you definitely. Strategy and planning both are very must. Why I will address. First question, Nancy, tell me what is the question students are asking continuously?
Sir, actually, like when I go through the queries, the very common query that I get is that, ma'am, we have understood the concept, right? And we learn also. But when we start writing in the exam, the students say that we fall short of words, that we are able to write in the exam. So if you can just, give some light on this query.
Okay. Yes. First, I am taking up ki understanding to ho gayi, but you do not get marks. मैं पहले ये वाली query address करता हूँ. Yes, students. Understanding first in every subject. First, I will start with some quotation. If you are ambitious, you will find the trick to overcome every obstacle. If you are ambitious, then you will find the trick to overcome every obstacle, right? So far as marks are concerned, students come to us at the Board of Studies and they complain, sir, we do not get marks in auditing. हमारे 29 marks आए, 30 marks आए, 25 and so on. So many students come to us, they talk to us over phone and so on. I advise all of you, I suggest all of you that do not run. आप साथ साथ जो मैं आपको टिप्स एडवाइस दे रहा हूं, आप उसके नोटबुक में साथ साथ नोट्स भी बनाएं, so that you may recall it on daily basis. Only then it will be established in your mind. Otherwise, human tendency है कि हम जल्दी भूल जाते हैं. तो भूलना नहीं है, मेरी बातें आपको definitely they are going to pay you in the examination. My first important, very important advice is do not run after marks. Marks के पीछे भागो ही मत. मैं आपको ये कहता हूं कि marks should run after you. आप ऐसी तैयारी कर डालो कि मार्क्स आपके पीछे पीछे चले आए. तो my focus is always on preparation side. मैं कहता हूं कि स्टूडेंट्स को कि आपने प्रेपरेशन कितनी की मुझे ये बता दो. स्टूडेंट कहता है मेरे 30 नंबर आए हैं. मैं कहता हूं 30 नंबर ही डिजर्व कर, 30 भी तुम्हें ज्यादा दे दिए. क्यों? क्योंकि आपको ऑडिट एविडेंस का मीनिंग ही नहीं पता. मैं पूछता हूं उनसे, मैं कहा व्हाट इज ऑडिट एविडेंस, और मैं कहता हूं तू पूरी स्टडी में से मुझे एक लाइन सुना दे जो तुझे याद है. एक भी नहीं सुना पाते स्टूडेंट, नॉट इवन ए सिंगल लाइन. ये फैक्ट है, मैं बता रहा हूं जो आपको. इसलिए मैं आपको सबसे पहली एडवाइस तो मैं ये दूंगा कि आप अंडरस्टैंड करें चीजों को. वट एवर द टीचर्स आर टीचर्स आर सो मच रिलीजियसली टीचिंग यू, आई शुड से, और आप रिलीजियसली आप उनको पढ़ो भी। स्टडी करना भी एक रिलीजन है, इट इज ए रिलीजन टू प्रैक्टिस। तो आप चीजों को एकदम सबसे पहले तो अंडरस्टैंड कर लो, और अंडरस्टैंडिंग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से स्टूडेंट्स, हम स्टडी मटेरियल लिखते हैं, फिर देन एलवीसी में टीचर्स बहुत अच्छा स्पेशलिस्ट टीचर्स आपको पढ़ा रहे हैं, चाहे सीए शीश बहल जी हो, सीए नैन्सी सिंगला हो, चाहे विपुल साबू जी हो, तो बेस्ट टीचर्स आर अवेलेबल विद अस। और आपको स्पेशलिस्ट जो उनका एरिया ऑफ स्पेशलाइजेशन ऑडिट है उसमें वो बहुत एक्सेल भी कर रहे हैं। तो व्हाट आई मीन टू से, पहला स्टेप आप मेरा लिख लो कि आपने प्रेपरेशन ही करनी है, आपने मार्क्स के बारे में तो सोचना ही नहीं है। तो प्रेपरेशन कैसे करो? अब आपके दिमाग में अगला क्वेश्चन इमीडिएटली आ जाएगा, सर हम प्रेपरेशन करें कैसे? ठीक है, तो एवरी सब्जेक्ट हैज इट्स ABCD, ये आप लिख लो अच्छी तरह। हर एक सब्जेक्ट, आपने इंग्लिश पढ़ी, इंग्लिश पढ़ते हुए भी आपको 20 साल हो गए होंगे, लेकिन आज आप कॉन्फिडेंस से ये नहीं कह सकते आपको इंग्लिश आती है। कोई भी आप अपने दिल पे हाथ रख के बता दो मुझे कि आपको इंग्लिश आती है, या मैथ्स आता है आपको, या हिंदी भी आती है, कोई सब्जेक्ट आप मुझे बता दो, और 20-20 साल पढ़ के भी नहीं आते, तो ऑडिटिंग इतनी जल्दी नहीं आ जाएगी, ये ध्यान रखना पहले। तो ऑडिटिंग किसी भी सब्जेक्ट को पढ़ने के लिए उसकी ABC आनी जरूरी है। ABC के लिए पहले उसे आपको अंडरस्टैंड करना पड़ेगा। अंडरस्टैंड करने के बाद जब मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग कंप्लीट हो जाएगी, मेरे को लर्न करना ही पड़ेगा। ABC भी मैंने लर्न की थी, आज दिन तक याद है सबको ABC। मैं स्टूडेंट्स को कहता हूँ, आपको कहते हैं सर हमें तो लर्न ही नहीं होता, तो मैं कहा ABC सुनाता हूँ, फिर वो तो आती होगी आपको। और वो कैसे आती, क्यों आती है? बिकॉज हर रोज टीचर ने क्लास में आके A लिख दिया था पहले कई दिन तक, A, फिर A फॉर एप्पल, B फॉर एंड सो ऑन, तभी आपके दिमाग में ABC स्टेब्लिश हो गई है। तो चीजों को सबसे पहले अपने माइंड में आप एस्टेब्लिश करो, दिस इज द फर्स्ट थिंग। अब अंडरस्टैंड करके आपने लर्न करना है। अब ये कहने को तो मैंने कह दिया लर्न करना है, नैन्सी मैडम भी कह रही है, शीश बेल सर भी कह रहे हैं, और सारे कह रहे हैं लर्न करना है। अब आपका क्वेश्चन यहाँ पर भी आएगा, मैं आई नो योर क्वेश्चन कि सर लर्न होता ही नहीं, कह रहे हैं कैसे? मैं लर्निंग की आपको स्ट्रेटेजी डिस्क्लोज कर देता हूँ, और ये टाइम टेस्टेड स्ट्रेटेजी है जो बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स ने फॉलो करी है, दे आर कमिंग विद फ्लाइंग कलर्स, आई एम श्योर। आप लर्निंग की मेरी स्ट्रेटेजी नोट कर लो। आप कोई भी डेफिनेशन से ऑडिट एविडेंस, जैसे इसी चैप्टर में आपने पढ़ा है ऑडिट एविडेंस, आई नो नैन्सी मैडम ने आपको बहुत अच्छा पढ़ाया है। ऑडिट एविडेंस इज द इंफॉर्मेशन, इट इज द इंफॉर्मेशन, ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट वर्ड है यहाँ। इट इज द इंफॉर्मेशन विच इज यूज्ड बाय द ऑडिटर इन अराइविंग एट द कंक्लूजन, ठीक है, ऑन विच द ऑडिटर्स ओपिनियन इज बेस्ड। तो ये SA 500 ने डिफाइन कर दिया ऑडिट एविडेंस को। तो क्या आपको ये आता है जैसे मैंने सुनाया है? क्या आप अपने आप से पूछो, क्या आता है ऐसे? सो ऑडिट के अंदर कुछ इसकी ABC क्या है? सबसे पहले तो ABC समझो। ABC है जो 8 चैप्टर्स हैं, 13 में से आपके 8 चैप्टर्स हैं जो ऐसे बेस्ड है। तो आउट ऑफ 13 चैप्टर्स 8 चैप्टर्स आर ऐसे बेस्ड, और ऐसे की अपनी ABCD है। तो इफ ए स्टूडेंट कैन अंडरस्टैंड एसेज वेल, तो उसकी आधी से ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम तो सॉल्व हो जाती है। तो एसेज की अपनी ABCD है। ऑडिटिंग आपको पढ़नी आ जाएगी, आपको लर्न यहां से ऐसे से ही आप सीख लेते हो। जैसे ऑडिट एविडेंस है बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट, ऑडिट डॉक्यूमेंटेशन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, रीजनेबल एश्योरेंस बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, प्रोफेशनल स्केप्टिसिज्म बहुत, प्रोफेशनल जजमेंट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, प्लानिंग बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट, स्ट्रेटेजी बहुत, ये सारी चीजें हैं जो। तो व्हाट आई, अब आप लर्न क्या करोगे? लर्न करोगे आप डेफिनेशन को लर्न करोगे, और डेफिनेशन को ऐसे नहीं लर्न करना ये तो लर्न हो गई, ऑडिट एविडेंस मैंने पढ़ लिया। आपका कोई भी वर्ड इधर से उधर हिलना नहीं चाहिए डेफिनेशन के अंदर। जो ऐसे में डेफिनेशन लिखी हुई है, अगर आपको अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो गई, आप वर्ड को हिलाओगे नहीं। अगर आपने वर्ड हिला दिया कोई भी एक भी, तो इसका मतलब वो लर्निंग नहीं हुई। अब वर्ड कैसे नहीं हिलेगा, क्वेश्चन ये है। मैं इसके लिए आपको स्ट्रेटेजी दे रहा हूं, उसको कम से कम भी आप 10 टाइम्स रीड करो, 10 टाइम्स। केयरफुली रीडिंग करो 10 टाइम्स। और अगर आप एक बार में अगर आपको 10 बार से भी करने में रीडिंग से नहीं हो रही तो आप उसको पार्ट्स में ब्रेक कर दो। ऑडिट एविडेंस इज द इंफॉर्मेशन, तो यहां तक रुक जाओ, इट इज द इंफॉर्मेशन, इसको पहले दिमाग में सेट कर लो। 10 बार खाली ये बोल लो, इट इज द इंफॉर्मेशन, नाउ इट इज यूज्ड बाय द ऑडिटर। यूज करके ऑडिटर क्या करेगा? कंक्लूजन पर आएगा, इन अराइविंग एट द कंक्लूजन। फिर कंक्लूजन, जब वो कंक्लूजन, व्हेन द कंक्लूजन आर रीच्ड, देन अपनी ओपिनियन दे देगा। तो इसकी सीक्वेंस है, इस सीक्वेंस में से आप इसे लर्न कर लोगे। 10 टाइम्स रीड करके आपने कहा चलो लर्न हो गई पहले दिन, डे 1 आज क्या है? टुडे इज 6 फरवरी। 6 फरवरी को आप हर रोज 5 डेफिनेशन को टारगेट करो। ये मेरी स्ट्रेटजी आप लिख लो कि डेली मुझे 5 डेफिनेशन लर्न करने ही करने हैं, चाहे कुछ हो जाए। आज 6 फरवरी को आप 5 डेफिनेशन लर्न कर लो अच्छी तरह से। अंडरस्टैंड तो आपने किए हुए हैं। आप डेफिनेशन कौन कौन से पिकअप करो? ऑडिट एविडेंस पिकअप कर लो, आप ऑडिट डॉक्यूमेंटेशन पिकअप कर लो, ऑब्जर्वेशन की डेफिनेशन पिकअप कर लो, लुकिंग एट थिंग्स परफॉर्म्ड बाय अदर्स, इंस्पेक्शन की डेफिनेशन पिकअप कर लो, अभी आपने रिसेंटली करी है डेफिनेशन, ठीक है। आप इंक्वायरी के 5 हो गए, आज आप इसको लर्न कर लो। अब इस स्ट्रेटेजी में स्टूडेंट्स, कल ये 5 7th of Feb को आपको ये 5 डेफिनेशन दोबारा से लर्न करनी है। प्लीज मेक इट ए पॉइंट। यही सेम डेफिनेशन 5 की 5 आप कल दोबारा से इनको लर्न करोगे। 7th Feb को ये रिपीट करना है। लर्निंग की स्ट्रेटेजी बता रहा हूं, एंड इट इज वेरी इफेक्टिव स्ट्रेटेजी, प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस स्टूडेंट। और ऑडिटिंग के अंदर आपके मार्क्स आपके पीछे आएंगे, आपको मार्क्स के पीछे भागने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी। मैं आपको पूरी स्ट्रेटेजी बता रहा हूँ। Please follow this religiously, this strategy. Yes, Nancy, you want to say something?
Sir, actually, if you can just use a little more English. Students from Tamil Nadu.
No problem.
Right.
I will use English.
Okay.
So what I am saying is, whatever you learn today, say on 6th February, you learned 5 definition you learned by heart, right? 7th February again, you have to learn those 5 definitions and plus add 5 definitions more. 5 definition learn कर लो 7th February को। जो 6th February को learn की थी वही 7th February को भी learn करनी है। Whatever you have learned on 6th February, you have to learn again on 7th February. learn नहीं बोल रहा हूं मैं, रीड नहीं करना, रीड करके नहीं छोड़ना। रीड चाहे 15 बार करना पड़ जाए, मे बी आपको 15 टाइम्स रीड करना पड़े, 20 टाइम्स रीड करना पड़े, डोंट माइंड दैट। टाइम तो लगाना ही पड़ेगा। यू हैव टू इन्वेस्ट द टाइम। देयर इज नो सब्स्टिट्यूट, देयर इज नो शॉर्टकट टू सक्सेस, प्लीज रिमेंबर। स्टूडेंट्स, आप शॉर्टकट जहां पे लगाओगे ना, वहां पे ही मार्क्स आपके फिसलते जाएंगे। प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस, देयर इज नो शॉर्टकट टू सक्सेस, राइट। अब 7th को अगेन वो 5 डेफिनेशन आपकी 70% सीमेंटेड हो जाएंगी, जो आपने 6th Feb को की डेफिनेशन। अगेन यू हैव टू लर्न ऑन 7th of February. नाउ अभी भी छोड़ना नहीं है उनको, डोंट लीव दोज डेफिनेशन। अगेन 7th February को आपने 5 और ऐड कर दिए, मींस आज आपके पास 10 डेफिनेशन का रिजर्व हो जाएगा। 8th February को 7th February को 5 तो 6th वाली और 5 7th वाली, टोटल यू विल बी हैविंग ए रिजर्व ऑफ 10 डेफिनेशन। स्लोली 8th February को फिर जो 6th February को आपने डेफिनेशन लर्न की, 8th February अगेन वो करनी है आपने। अब रीड करके छोड़ देना, 10 टाइम्स रीड करके छोड़ देना। आप ये देखोगे 3rd डे, आप ये देखोगे कि वो डेफिनेशन आप जिंदगी भर भी कभी नहीं भूलोगे। और अगर किसी स्टूडेंट को लगता है तो वो इसको करके देख ले। मैं कहता हूं लर्निंग की इससे जबरदस्त कोई स्ट्रेटेजी नहीं है। आप इसको फॉलो करके देखो, और 3 डेज में अगर किसी को नहीं होता तो एक्सटेंड इट अप टू 5 डेज। यू कैन एक्सटेंड इट अप टू 5 डेज, और 10 डेज, इन ए टाइम पीरियड ऑफ 10 डेज आपके पास 50 डेफिनेशंस आपको लर्न होंगे ऑडिटिंग के। आपके पास स्टॉक कितना जबरदस्त हो जाएगा। तो यू विल बी हैविंग ए स्टॉक ऑफ 50 डेफिनेशन जो आपको ऐसे होंगी फिंगर टिप्स पे आप सुना पाओगे। नैन्सी मैडम पूछेंगी बाद में, आप पहले सुनाओगे। तो इसका जो इफेक्ट है जबरदस्त इफेक्ट है। तो मैं आपको लर्निंग की स्ट्रेटजी भी साथ साथ बता रहा हूं। ऐसा नहीं कि खाली मैं कह रहा हूं कि आप लर्न कर लो और हो गया, ऐसा नहीं कह रहा। मैं आपको लर्न करने का तरीका भी समझा रहा हूं कि जो भी लर्न करो उसे 3 दिन तक लर्न करो कम से कम। 3 दिन से अगर 3 डेज से बात ना बने तो एक्सटेंड इट अप टू 5 डेज। आप देखो उसका कितना जबरदस्त इंपैक्ट आएगा। दिस इज वन थिंग। सो व्हेनेवर, साथ साथ अब क्या होगा, एवरी एसे हैज इट्स स्टडी मटेरियल में लिखा हुआ है, उसके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स हैं, उसका स्कोप है, ये भी साथ में लर्न कर लो। लर्न करने के लिए कुछ मटेरियल तो वहां पे ये बेस धीरे धीरे बनेगा, नॉट इन ए सिंगल डे। खाली समझने से कुछ नहीं होगा। प्लीज रिमेंबर, आप लेक्चर्स, आप सोचो मैंने लेक्चर्स ऑडिटिंग के सारे अटेंड कर लिए और अब मेरे तो 60 नंबर आ जाएंगे, बिल्कुल नहीं आएंगे ऐसे। जब तक आप हार्ड वर्क अंदर नहीं करोगे, जब तक आप ये वाली जो एक्सरसाइज मैं आपको बता रहा हूं नहीं करोगे, तब तक आपकी तैयारी नहीं होगी, और तैयारी नहीं होगी तो मार्क्स नहीं। दिस इज द बेसिक थिंग आई हैव टोल्ड यू। नैन्सी, मैंने जो स्टूडेंट्स को ये जो लर्निंग स्ट्रेटजी आज डिस्क्लोज की है बताइए, तो स्टूडेंट्स का इस पे रिस्पांस क्या है मुझे बताओ जरा एक बार। और क्या स्टूडेंट समझ पा रहे हैं, या आई थिंक मैंने मिक्स लैंग्वेज यूज की है।
Yeah, so students are finding it very effective. Like Pooja is saying, so your strategy is very effective, and I'm getting the reply.
मैं स्टूडेंट्स को क्या एडवाइस कर रहा हूं कि आप ये करो प्रैक्टिकली। मैं कहता हूं कि सुनने में आपके कानों को बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, आपके माइंड को बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, लेकिन आप करोगे नहीं तो इसका कोई इम्पैक्ट आने वाला नहीं। प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस।
राइट।
मैं स्टूडेंट्स को ये एडवाइस कर रहा हूं कि आज से आप अगर अभी तक, आज 3rd चैप्टर चल रहा है और मई में आपका एग्जाम है, एक और मेरी बात ध्यान रखना स्टूडेंट्स को हमेशा टाइम, जो आज टाइम चल रहा है वो लंबा नजर आएगा, एग्जाम तो भी बहुत दूर है। लेकिन मेरे को तो आज दिन तक, मैं तो कहता हूं कि एग्जाम आपका 1 साल भी पड़ा तो बहुत पास है। जस्ट आप होरिजन अपना चेंज कर लो, टाइम होरिजन, कि मेरा तो एग्जाम पास ही है बहुत और मुझे रिगरस स्टडी करनी है। जब तक आप 8-9 आवर्स दिन में नहीं पढ़ोगे तब तक रिजल्ट की अच्छे की उम्मीद मत करो। आपको कम से कम 10 आवर्स एक दिन में पढ़ना ही पढ़ना है। आपके पास फोर्स एक, इवन इफ यू आर अपेयरिंग इन 1 ग्रुप, स्टिल यू आर हैविंग 4 सब्जेक्ट्स टू स्टडी विद, राइट। तो इसलिए आप रिगरस स्टडी करो, शॉर्टकट्स में मत जाओ। व्हाट माय एडवाइस टू यू इज स्टूडेंट्स, डोंट गो आफ्टर शॉर्टकट्स, ठीक है। तो ये नैन्सी जस्ट एनकरेज द स्टूडेंट्स कि वो स्ट्रेटजी फॉलो करें और फिर आपको 3 दिन के बाद उसका रिजल्ट बताएं। अभी 3 दिन मींस 8 तारीख को तुम उनसे पूछ पाओगे, या मैं शीश बैल जी को रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, या तुम नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में जब मिलोगे। तो कुछ स्टूडेंट्स को, जैसे पूजा आपने बोला,
यस सर, पूजा
और स्टूडेंट्स को भी आप इनकरेज करो कि एक बार इस स्ट्रेटजी पे चल के देखें।
राइट।
और इसके इसके रिजल्ट्स बहुत ब्रिलियंट रिजल्ट्स आर देयर, ब्रिलियंट,
राइट सर,
ठीक है। और
there is a query by Shubham who is saying
yes,
that how much time we have to devote on learning for definitions like on a daily basis.
This is a good question शुभम, आपका क्वेश्चन बहुत अच्छा लगा मुझे, बिकॉज अगर इंटरेक्टिव सेशन नहीं होगा तो मुझे भी पता नहीं लगेगा कौन सुन रहा है और कौन नहीं सुन रहा। तो आप क्वेरी एक बार दोबारा बताना शुभम की क्या है।
Like how much time
टाइम की अगर मैं बात करूं तो एक सब्जेक्ट पे स्टूडेंट्स कम से कम 2.5 आवर्स, और थ्योरेटिकल सब्जेक्ट पे मैं आपको ये एडवाइस करूंगा कि थोड़ा सा टाइम ज्यादा ही लगता है। तो थ्योरेटिकल सब्जेक्ट पे आप कम से कम एक दिन में 3 घंटा जरूर पढ़ें, 3 आवर्स। दिस इज द मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट। आप और लर्निंग 3 घंटे में 3 आवर्स में से, जैसे डेफिनेशन मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, 5 डेफिनेशन लर्न करने में आपको 1 आवर से ऊपर नहीं लगेगा, और जो बाकी 2 आवर्स बचते हैं उसमें आप पॉइंट्स वगैरह लर्न करें। जैसे जो इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन, एग्जामिनेशन क्वेश्चन उठाएं। अभी आपके 2017 से कई एग्जाम हो चुके हैं, जो पास्ट एग्जामिनेशन क्वेश्चन उठाएं। स्टडी मटेरियल में से कोई भी टॉपिक, जो आप टॉपिक कर रहे हो उसका कोई भी टॉपिक छोड़ो मत। और कुछ टॉपिक्स अभी मैं स्टेप बाय स्टेप आपको बताऊंगा. अभी मैं डेफिनेशन पे फोकस कर रहा हूं सबसे पहला, बिकॉज डेफिनेशन क्या है, एबीसी ऑफ ऑडिटिंग है, राइट. और आप अप्रिशिएट करोगे स्टूडेंट्स कि एबीसी अगर मुझे आती है तो एबीसी से मेरे वर्ड फॉर्मेशन भी मुझे हो जाएगी और सेंटेंस फॉर्मेशन भी हो जाती है. ठीक है, धीरे धीरे आपकी ग्रिप आएगी, एकदम से ग्रिप नहीं आएगी सब्जेक्ट के ऊपर, प्लीज रिमेंबर. और अंडरस्टैंडिंग करके मत छोड़ें. अगर आपने अंडरस्टैंडिंग करके छोड़ दिया तो आप ट्रबल में पड़ोगे, आई एम श्योर एटलीस्ट. तो शुभम, यू हैव अंडरस्टूड आई थिंक व्हाट आई एम सेइंग.
Sir, if to this Shubham's query, you can again repeat it in English, because Nitya and one more student are there who are asking the same questions, but they want the reply
in English.
Yeah.
What I am saying is you must devote at least 1 hour for learning in a day. At least 1 hour for 5 definitions. You have to learn 5 definitions. Initially, I understand you will take more time because you did not learn anything in the past, say. So now you are experimenting on that. So initially you may take a longer time. Say, I do not mind personally if you take 2 hours to learn 5 definitions. Don't mind that. Do not see कि time कितना लग गया मेरा, how much time is gone. Do not look at your watches. Be out of the horizon of the time. Just you see the quality what you are putting in. You see whether what you are learning, what you are trying to learn, did you learn it or not? This is very important, students. Don't go after time. How much time is this time is wasted. I am running short of time. Even if you are running short of time, but at the end of the day, if you are not able to learn, that is not going to give you any result. Please remember this. And if in 3 hours, at the most 3 hours initially, if you are able to learn 5 definitions, just 5 definitions, you are definitely going to perform better in the examination. This is make sure. I am sure at least you are going to perform better in the examination. Now they are able to understand or not?
Yes, sir. Sandeep and Shubham is also saying that they will keep this in mind. And sir, there is another.
Implementation is very important.
Right.
But what I am saying is implementation. Although I am focusing on only one area because I will discuss my strategies step by step. Implementation is very important. Implementation. Students, you focus on implementation. Only by listening to my strategy and not working on it will not matter. Implementation is very important. I give importance to implementation. Yes, Nancy, what you are saying?
Sir, actually, related to this learning aspect, there is a query by Pooja who is asking as to how to learn the essays.
How to learn the essays. This is what I am addressing.
Right.
Just pick up the definition part first. Essay 500, you have done. Nancy madam has already covered essay 500. And there are so many definitions therein. For example, audit evidence, then other information उसमें define किया हुआ है. फिर inspection, observation, inquiry, external confirmation. These are all the definition part, right? So definitions, Nancy, what I suggest you is just give them 5 definition daily on daily basis. कि आप learn करके आओ, and tomorrow I will ask the students कि आपने learn किया या नहीं किया.
Right. Sure.
After 3 days, you will start getting the results.
Right, sir. Right.
So further, I will on another day I will disclose more strategies, and I will carry forward the discussion. I will continue this discussion.
So students are very much excited and they want to listen to you more. But as you have said,
I will definitely be coming for say 15-20 minutes like I have come today. So I will definitely be continue my these addressing students for 15-20 minutes so that, and students, if you implement my strategies, it is definite, I am sure it will bring results. So Nancy, just encourage the students.
Yeah, sure.
And keep a track on them whether they are learning or not. And learning is, ask students, I suggest you, I advise you that enjoy the understanding and learning. Enjoy it. If you start enjoying your studies, nothing like it. It is brilliant, I am telling you. With these words, thank you very much, Nancy.
So thank you for your valuable inputs. It will definitely benefit all the students.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
You can continue, Nancy.
Okay, sir. Okay. So, dear students, I hope this session has been really very beneficial for all of you. And as sir has rightly said that if you are ambitious, you'll definitely find the trick to overcome every obstacles, right? So with a very positive note, wishing you all a very happy learning, I would start with today's session, right? So all your queries that you have addressed for sir, I'll be sharing it with sir, and in the next session, whenever he'll be having the interaction with you, all your queries will be resolved, right? So let us start with the 2 essays that are left in chapter number 3. So we were left with 2 essay students, and these essays are essay 560, that is on subsequent events, and essay 570, which is on going concern. So as sir has said, that learning of definitions is really very, very important. And the strategy that he has told you, let us try to implement that from today's session itself. So there are various definitions that are discussed in essay 560. There are 3 definitions that are coming in your module with respect to essay 560. So this is your homework, that you need to learn all these 3 definitions, okay? And after completing essay 560 and 570, we will be quickly revising the entire chapter. So as and when you will come across the definition, just try to take the definitions that you will be learning first, so that and repeat them as sir has said, so that you are able to learn all the definitions and thereby passing your exams with flying colors. Okay? So let us start with essay 560. So students are saying, she's saying that I'll definitely implement this strategy, and many students are saying the same thing. So let us start with essay 560 now. So the name of this essay is what? Subsequent events. Essay 560. Just a minute. So now what is contained in essay 560? Why are we studying essay 560? First, we'll be discussing that. Okay? So students, let's say we are the auditor of XYZ Limited, and we are conducting the audit of financial year 21-22, right? Now, the financial statements are from 1st April 2020 to 31st March 2021. 31st March 2021 is what? It is the date of the financial statements. What is date of financial statement? That is the end of the period covered by these financial statements, right? Now, let's say you are the auditor and you are giving your opinion with respect to the financial statement for the year ended 31st March 2021, right? Now, what are your responsibilities? What are the responsibilities of the auditor with respect to the events which occur after this date, subsequent to 31st March 2021? So this is what is covered in essay 560, subsequent events, right? Now, students, before going to the definition of subsequent events, or before going to essay 560, let us try to understand that there is accounting standard 4. You all must have read that. All must have done that. Contingencies and events occurring after the balance sheet date, right? So the applicable FRF, and if it is accounting standard, so AS4 requires the management of an organization to comply with the provisions of AS4, right? That is contingencies and events occurring after the balance sheet date. Now, why is there a separate SA 560? See, we as auditor, we gave our opinion on the financial statement as a whole, and we need to be sure whether the financial statement comply with the applicable FRF. And if AS4 is one of the applicables FRF, which is applicable to that organization, to our client organization. So unless and until we are sure about whether the client has complied with the provision of AS4 or the applicable FRF, we cannot give our opinion on the financial statement, right? So if subsequent event, something like subsequent event is applicable to an organization, so SF 560 deals with the auditor's responsibility in order to perform procedures with respect to those subsequent events. Okay? So now let us just try to understand few things related to AS4. Let us just look at the foundation of this SA, and then we'll understand, we will go through the definition part of subsequent event. So let's say that we are conducting the audit for the financial year 2021. And the date of the financial statement, that is the date on which this year is ending, is what? 31st March 2021, right? Now let us say that the organization, the management, they will finalize the accounts, let's say on 15th April 2021, right? And since the auditor gives his opinion on the balances that is appearing as on 31st March 21 in our case, so some audit will continue in this period also. When these balances, when the balance as on 31st March 2021 is finalized, the closing balances are arrived. After that, the auditor must perform certain audit procedures in order to be sure about those balances. Okay? So let's take the example that here the auditor completes the audit. Okay? Now, the financial statements are always approved by the, let's say, board of directors. The management will get them approved by the board of directors. So let's take the date as 30th April 21, whereby the financial statements are approved by the board of directors and they have taken the responsibility for such financial statements. And generally, the auditor also signs the audit report on such date. So let's say it is 30th April in this case. Okay? Now, SA 560, it deals with the auditor responsibility with respect to the events that occur after the date of the financial statements. The date of the financial statement in our cases was 31st March 21, right? And the events that occur after these dates, let's say on 15th May, the financial statements are issued to the third parties. Okay? I'll repeat all the dates so as to avoid any confusions. And students are saying that they have already done AS4. So yes, a background of AS4 is required that you already have. Okay? So 1st April 20 to 31st March 21 is my financial statements, the period for which the financial statements are to be audited. So the date of financial statement is what? 31st March 21. That is the date of the end of the period of financial statement. 15th April, the auditor finalized, the management finalized the accounts. Audit is still going on during this period. Let's say on 23rd April, auditor completes his audit work and the financial statements are approved. That is, the responsibility with respect to the financial statements are taken by the board of directors and the management on 30th April. And let's take in our example that the auditor also signs the audit report on that day. On 15th May, the financial statements are issued to the third parties. Okay, the audited financial statements. Okay, so this essay contains the responsibility of the auditor with respect to the subsequent events, that is the event subsequent to these dates, this date. Okay, now as per AS4 it says there are two kinds of events: adjusting events and non-adjusting events, right? So with respect to the adjusting events, which take place after the date of the financial statement, why are they adjusting event? Because the event has occurred after the date of the financial statement, but the conditions with respect to those events existed on 31st March 2021. So if this is the case, these events are called adjusting events and they need to be adjusted in the financial statement ending 31st March 21, though they have actually occurred after the end of the financial statements. Why? Because the conditions with respect to the occurrence of such events existed as on the end of the financial year, right? And what are known non-adjusting events? They occur after the date of the end of the financial events, but financial statements, but the condition as such, it did not exist as on the closing of the financial year. So they will not be adjusted in the financial year 2021. But yes, if they are significant, so a disclosure will be required and the adjustment will be done in the next year. So this was the base with respect to AS4 relating to adjusting events and non-adjusting events. So why are we starting SA 560? Because as an auditor, the auditor has a responsibility with respect to events that occur after the date of the financial statement, that is in our case after 31st March 2021. So let us have a look at the definition of subsequent events, and as you all know, this is a homework, you need to learn these definitions. So subsequent events, and this definition is given by SA 560. So it says the events. What is an event? Quickly, I need your replies. What do you understand by events? Quickly. Do not look at the screen and send me your replies. So events, if you look at the dictionary meanings, events are like something that happens and especially one of importance. So events occurring between the date of financial statements and the date of auditor's report. So let us have a look at our example. Between the date of financial statement, which is 31st March 2021 in our case, and the date of auditor's report, which is 30th April 2021. So I can say these events, let me just define them as X. So events occurring from the date of financial statements to the date of the audit report, I have referred to these events as X. Okay, what is the next part? Facts that become known to the auditor after the date of the auditor's report. And what is meant by a fact? A thing that is known, like any information that you get that becomes known to the auditor after the date of the auditor's report. So I can say that after this date, whatever events will happen, let me just define them as Y. So SA 560 deals with the auditor's responsibility with respect to events that happen after the date of the financial statement. And the SA has divided these responsibility into two parts. That is, the first responsibility deals with the auditor's responsibility from the date of financial statements to when the auditor issues the audit report. What is the date of audit report? When auditor signs the audit report. And the second part is after the date of the audit report. And students, you will further see that this demarcation, this point will again bifurcate this Y period into two parts. Okay? So abhi ke liye we will see what an auditor is required to do with respect to the events that are occurring in X period. Okay? Now, what is the objective of the auditor? With respect to subsequent events, we have seen what is the definition. The definition says that events occurring between the date of financial statement and the date of auditor's report. One is this part, an event that something has happened in that period. And the facts, that is the information that auditor becomes aware of after the date of the audit report. Okay? So what is the objective? To obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. And now you all know that the SA 500 series is with respect to what? Obtaining audit evidence. And the second thing that you all already know is that audit evidence to be obtained should be sufficient and appropriate, right? So obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence with respect to events occurring between the date of financial statement and date of audit report. In our example, the X period. So what evidence? That if they require any adjustment and disclosure, that is the adjusting event, and maybe disclosure if required for non-adjusting event. So if any adjustment or disclosure is required for the adjusting events, or if only the disclosure is required for what? Non-adjusting events, whether that has been appropriately reflected. So this point is talking about the X period, right? Second, to respond appropriately to the facts known to the auditor after the date of audit report, that is the Y period in our diagram, that had become known to the auditor at that date. That date is what? At the date of the audit report. In our example, 30th April. That may have caused the auditor to amend the audit report. That may have caused the auditor to amend the audit report. Now, auditor has already given his report now, because we are talking about the events occurring after the date of the audit report that may have caused the auditor to amend the audit report. What does that signify? It signifies that those facts are very significant. Those facts are very significant, right? So they are so significant that if auditor would have been aware about such facts on that date is while signing the audit report, he would have amended the auditor's report. Okay? So I hope what time period we are talking about, what events, to what period the events relate to, and to what period the facts relate to is clear, and what is the definition of subsequent event should be clear, along with the objectives of the auditor. So let me just have a look at the queries, if any. ठीक है. So and students, see, when the auditor is giving a date on his audit report, now this is very significant. Why? Because this date shows that the auditor has considered all the events up to this date. See, abhi the auditor has not signed the report now. So if anything significant happens, that can always be, given effect in the financial statements and can also be considered in the audit report. Okay? So just try to understand that if any such event happen between what? The date of financial statements and the date of audit report. So can I say that since abhi tak the report has not been signed and financial statement as such has not been, issued to the third party, so the auditor can perform the audit procedures with respect to such events? he can always perform the audit procedures, he can always obtain the sufficient appropriate audit evidence with respect to the subsequent events. We are talking about what? Period X. And the effect of such period can always be given in the financial statement. The financial statements can be revised, and the audit report, a new audit report, can always be issued. So we'll be discussing this in detail as to what auditor needs to do. Okay? So let me just take you through the module once. So let us just have a look at the definitions and then we'll proceed further. So subsequent events are what? Events occurring between the date of financial statement and the date of auditor's report. In our example, this is period X, and the facts that became known to the auditor after the date of audit report, which is Y. What is date of financial statement? It is 31st March 2021 in our case, the date of end of the latest period covered by the financial statement. And what is the date of auditor's report? It is 30th April 2021 in our example, the date the auditor dated the report on the financial statement in accordance with SA 700. SA 700 is with respect to the reporting by the auditor. Okay, that you will be doing in detail in chapter number 11. But as I've told you, what is the significance when the auditor puts a date? That date shows that with respect to that particular audit, the auditor has considered the events up to this date. Okay, with respect to subsequent events, he'll be complying with what? SA 560. So subsequent events deals with auditor's responsibility relating to subsequent events in audit of financial statement. Okay. Now this is talking about AS4. The financial reporting framework ordinarily identify two types of events. Those that provide evidence of conditions that existed at the date of financial statement, that is what? Adjusting events. Clear? Then those that provide evidence of conditions that arose after the date of financial statement, that is what? Non-adjusting events. Okay. And SA 700 explains that date of auditor's report informs the reader that auditor has considered the effect of events in transactions of which the auditor becomes aware and that occurred up to that date. So this is a very, very important line. Okay. So the date on which the auditor is signing the report, it shows that he has considered the events up to that date. And what is the objective? With respect to period X, the auditor needs to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence as to whether events occurring between the date of financial statement, that is 31st March 2020, in our case, the example is 2021, and the date of the audit report, that is 30th April 2021 in our example, that require adjustment or disclosure in the financial statement are appropriately reflected, and with respect to the transactions that have occurred in period Y, to respond appropriately to those facts. Okay? So what is the audit procedures with respect to all these events? See, first of all, if any such event is there, so first of all, auditor will try to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence that whether such event has been identified or not, right? Okay. Now, he will perform all these procedures. Very simple. If you just have a look at these procedures, I told you that abhi tak the audit report has not been signed. So as such, auditor can always perform the routine audit procedures. So obtaining an understanding of procedures, inquiring of management, reading the minutes, and reading the interim financial statement. See, if on 31st March 2021, the accounts are closed, the books are closed, okay? And auditor is, conducting the audit, he's continuing with the audit after, in say, let's say April also, okay? Now, if he becomes aware about any, let's say some litigation was going against the company and the outcome of such litigation comes out in the month of April. Okay? So what he can do, he can always obtain an understanding of the procedures which the management is performing in order to identify all those subsequent events. Okay? He can inquire the management, that management tell me as to what is the result of the litigation, what is the outcome. ठीक है, and see if any significant event is discussed, if significant matter is discussed in any meetings. So you have always seen that minutes of the meetings, they act as a sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So auditor can always inspect, he can always read the minutes of the meetings between management, those charged with governance, right? And let's say we are at, just a minute, let me take you back to the sheet. ठीक है, so here we have seen that 31st March 21 is the closing period. Now the interim financial statement, let's say for the quarter ending after 31st March 2021, that is 30th June, audit 30th June 21, auditor can always review, he can always peruse the subsequent interim financial statement, okay? Because in the interim financial statement, any event which is occurring after this, that might have come. So auditor can always analyze whether this is an adjusting event for financial year 2021 or it need to be considered in the financial year 21-22. Okay, so very simple points. Let me just take you through the module again. So obtaining an understanding of any procedures management has established, inquiring of management and where appropriate those charged with governance, reading the minutes of the meetings with management, those charged with governance, and reading the entity's latest interim financial statements. And students, when the auditor is analyzing the effect, the identification of subsequent events, quickly tell me what can auditor obtain from the management? See, as such, management prepares the financial statement, okay? And management is looking after the day-to-day working. So management must be aware about the events that is taking place with respect to the organization. So what, as an auditor, what can be obtained as a necessary audit evidence with respect to the subsequent events? Quickly tell me. We can obtain an understanding, we can inquire management, we can read minutes, we can read the entity's latest subsequent interim financial statement. And what can be taken from the management? That management, please give something to me in writing, that whatever subsequent events are there, these have been identified and these have been duly disclosed as per the applicable financial reporting framework. What is that called? We have done an essay on that thing. Quickly tell me. Quickly, I need answers. Please reply. Parth, Sandeep, Pooja, Nitya. Written representation. Harsh, Jameel, Charu, you are absolutely correct. So we can always ask the management that please give us a written representation. What written representation? That all events occurring subsequent to the date of financial statement and for which the applicable financial reporting require adjustment or disclosure have been adjusted or disclosed. Why? Because this will act as a necessary audit evidence. Whatever audit procedures we are performing with respect to subsequent events, this written representation is going to support such audit evidence. If you remember, one of the objectives of obtaining written representation is what? That it supports other audit evidence. So with respect to the subsequent events, we can always ask the management that management, okay, we understand and we have discussed with you, we have gone through the minutes of the meetings, we have reviewed the interim financial statements, but also please give us a written representation that all the subsequent events that have happened after the date of the financial statements and that need to be adjusted as per the applicable FRF or the disclosure is required, that has been done. Okay? And such written representation will act as a necessary audit evidence. So clear? So this is with respect to what? The events that are occurring in period X in our example. Okay? Now, what about the events that are taking place in period Y in our example? So this period, so all the transactions, all the facts that the auditor becomes aware of in this period. Okay? And as I told you that this period is further divided into two parts. What are those? Let us just have a look. So it says that the facts that the auditor becomes aware of after the date of the audit report, that is after 30th April 2021 in our case, but before the date the financial statements are issued, that is this period. So one bifurcation is this, I'll write it as Y1, okay? And the other is the facts which becomes known to the auditor after the financial statements are issued. I'll write it as Y2. I hope these two bifurcations are clear. So I'll do one thing, I'll just revise the entire essay so far we have done. So we saw that, okay? So we saw that any event that is happening after the end of the financial statement, as per the applicable FRF, it may be adjusting event or it may be non-adjusting event. So there is a responsibility on the management of the client that they need to adjust or disclose the events as per the applicable FRF. Okay? So we as an auditor, we have been given a responsibility by SA 560, and the name of the SA is subsequent events, that auditor, with respect to the events that are occurring after the balance sheet date, you have certain responsibilities. Okay? So auditor says, okay, tell me what are subsequent events. So SA 560 says that the events occurring between the date of financial statement and the date of auditor's report, right? And second bifurcation is what? Facts that become known to the auditor after the date of the audit report, and they are so significant that the auditor would have amended his audit report if those facts would have been available to him on the date of the audit report. Okay? So we have done definition of subsequent events. So what is the responsibility of the auditor? So in our diagram, which is on your screen, I can say with respect to the events occurring in period X, he need to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence that the events that require adjustment or the disclosure, they have been properly accounted for as per the applicable FRF. And with respect to the events, the facts that are happening in period Y, he need to respond appropriately. How to respond appropriately is what we'll be discussing next. Okay? Now, SA 560 divides this period into two parts. That is, the events, the facts that the auditor becomes aware of after the date of audit report till the financial statements are issued. And second, the facts that the auditor becomes aware after the financial statements are issued to the third parties. Okay? Now, with respect to these, see, just try to understand that after 30th April 2021, as such, the auditor has no obligation to perform audit procedures. Okay? Why? Because he has signed his audit report. Okay? He has signed his audit report, he has given his audit report. So uske baad, if anything happens, as such, he has no responsibility. Okay? But in case he becomes aware about any of the facts, and such fact is so significant that had the auditor known such fact on the date of audit report, 30th April 2021 in our example, the auditor would have amended his audit opinion. He would have amended his audit opinion. So what will auditor do? Okay? See, as such, the procedures that the auditor will do will be same with respect to Y1. I have divided this into two parts. Okay? So Y1 and Y2. But why there is a bifurcation? Because students, please try to understand that this Y2 period, that the fact that the auditor becomes aware of after the financial statements are issued, the chances are very rare. And if this happens, then this poses a, a problem for the management as well as the auditor. Why? Because the fact is so significant that the auditor would have amended his financial statement, his audit report, sorry, and now the financial statements, the audited financial statement along with the audit report, this has been issued, right? So what the auditor needs to do, let us just quickly have a look at it from the module. So the 2 points are facts which become known to the auditor after the date of the auditor's report, but before the date of the financial statements are issued, that is Y1 in our case, and facts which become known to the auditor after the financial statements have been issued, that is Y2. Okay. So as I told you that since the audit report has been issued, so as such auditor is not having any obligation to perform the audit procedures and to then identify acha koi fact to nahi hai, nahi. But yes, if he becomes aware of, then what he has to do. So let us see. The auditor has no obligation to perform any procedure. Why? Because if there is an obligation, aise to audit will continue forever, na? So as such, auditor is not having any obligation to perform any audit procedures regarding the financial statement after the date of the audit report. Okay. However, then after the date of the auditor's report, but before the financial statements are issued, our Y1 period, in example, a fact becomes known to the auditor. Let's say management tells the auditor that, let's say the result of the litigation is out, okay? Or let's say from the news, the auditor becomes aware. Had it been known to the auditor at the date of the auditor's report, that would have caused the auditor to amend the audit report. Students, what does this signify? May have caused the auditor to amend the audit report. This statement signifies that how significant is that matter? How significant is that matter that auditor would have amended his audit report that he has already issued on the date of the audit report, right? So had he, like, if he was aware about that fact, he would have not given the audit report that he has now actually given. So what to do? First of all, discuss with the management and the those chart with governance. Now you all have already understood twice that what is the difference between management and those chart with governance, right? Then determine whether financial statement needs any amendment. Okay, if it determines that the financial statement needs the amendment, who will amend the financial statement? Management. So inquire how management intends to address the matter in the financial statement. Okay? So if you become aware about the fact after the audit report has been issued, but before the issue of the financial statements, audited financial statement to the third party, discuss the fact with the management, and then management, what is the fact, and see if these are to be amended, and discuss with management as to how they intend to address. They will be revising the financial statements or they are not revising the financial statement. And then students, there are further implications that with respect to the management's intention, the auditor will consider the impact on his audit report, which is not in your inter-syllabus. So whatever is given in your module with respect to this essay, I'll be covering that. Okay? Now the second period is what? Y2. So the facts which become known to the auditor after the financial statements are issued, after these have been issued. So after the financial statements have been issued, the auditor has no obligation to perform any audit procedures regarding such financial statement. However, when after the financial statement have been issued, a fact becomes known to the auditor, had it been known to the auditor at the date of the audit report, 30th April 2021 in our example, it would have caused the auditor to amend the auditor's report. So this fact is so significant. So again, what will auditor do? He will discuss with management and those charged with governance. He is determined as to whether the financial statement needs amendment, and he'll inquire the management as to how they intend to address this matter. They want to revise the financial statements or not. And then there are certain conclusions and reporting requirement that is the auditor will have to do. But for this we need to consider this only. Okay? Now there is a doubt with respect to reading of interim financial statements. See, reading the entity's latest subsequent financial statement. In our example, what was the date? That 30th March 2021. This was the end of the financial year. So the subsequent, after the end of the financial year, the subsequent, let's say the organization has quarterly financial statements. So the financial statements as on interim, interim is what? Mid of the year, right? So if the organization, the client is preparing the financial statements for the quarter ended 30th June, so the auditor will have to review such interim financial statements. I hope the doubt is clear. Okay. So let me just quickly revise the entire essay and then we'll be proceeding with essay 570. Okay. So essay 560, the name is very simple, which is subsequent events. And now students understand and concentrate on the learning aspect also. Okay. So these definitions, that what is subsequent event? So event which is occurring after the date of financial statement, and it is divided into two parts: after the date of financial statement and the date of auditor's report, and events occurring after the date of the facts that the auditor becomes aware after the date of the audit report. Okay. Date of financial statement, you all know it is 31st March 2021. Date of auditor's report is what? When the auditor signs the audit report. Okay. So subsequent events, essay 560, it deals with auditor's responsibility with respect to subsequent events. And we know that as per the applicable financial reporting framework, there is a responsibility on the management that they need to consider the treatment of what? Adjusting events or non-adjusting events. So our responsibility as auditor is what? We need to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence that with respect to the events that are happened in X period, they have been adjusted or disclosed as per their nature. That is, if they are adjusting, if they need to be adjusted, they are adjusted and disclosed. And if only the disclosure is required because these need to be adjusted in the next period, then such disclosure has been made. Okay. So what audit procedure? You perform audit procedure in order to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence that such subsequent events have been identified. And how to do that? Obtain an understanding of the management's procedure, how management is identifying those subsequent events. Okay. After obtaining that understanding, inquire management and those charged with governance with respect to what is the effect of such subsequent event on the financial statement. You can also read the minutes of the meetings of the management, those charged with governance, whereby such matters have been discussed, and read the entity's latest subsequent interim financial statement. And one of the very important necessary audit evidence is what? Written representation from the management as per essay 580, that management give this to us in writing that all the subsequent events to the event subsequent to the date of financial statement and for which applicable FRF requires the adjustment and disclosure, that has been duly adjusted or disclosed, right? Now, with respect to the events happening, the facts that the auditor becomes aware in Y period, that is divided into two parts. So first is after the date of audit report till the financial statements are issued. And then second period is after the financial statements are issued. So as such, with respect to both the time periods, the auditor will not perform, he will specially not perform any audit procedures in order to identify such events. Okay? But yes, if any events he become aware of, okay, and that event is so significant that if he was aware about such a fact on the date of his audit report, he would have amended his auditor's report. Then he'll perform what? He will discuss that matter with management, those charged with governance. He'll determine whether financial statements need amendment, and he'll inquire the management as to how they intend to address the matter in the financial statement. Okay? So with this, our essay 560 on subsequent events is over. Let me just have a look at your queries and then I'll quickly start with essay 570 because we need to, you know, discuss all the practice questions also. So I'll quickly start with essay 570. Okay. So now our next essay that we'll be discussing, and the last essay of this chapter, I told you that there are 9 essays in this chapter. So we have discussed 8 essays in detail so far, and the 9th one, which is the last essay of this chapter, which is very, very important, going concern. Okay, essay 570, going concern. And students, on account of this corona period, okay, the effect of this time period on the businesses, this concept can be understood very well, right? Why? Because this corona period, it has impacted the going concern of a number of organizations. Okay, so essay 570 is on going concern. Now quickly tell me, there is a fundamental accounting assumption with respect to going concern. So AS1 says that with respect to going concern, accrual, consistency, as such, the application of such fundamental accounting assumptions is always assumed. So a separate disclosure by the management is not required, right? However, if the management is not following such fundamental accounting assumption, then the management needs to disclose such fact. Okay? This you all have done in AS1, right? The fundamental accounting assumption, their application is assumed by the users of the financial statement. As such, when these are followed, no disclosure is required. However, if these are not followed, then a disclosure is required. Okay. Now, since there is a requirement on the client, on the management to follow the applicable FRF, they need to follow AS1. Okay. So that is why we are studying SA 570, ongoing concern, that auditor, please see whether the implications of going concern are correctly accounted for on the financial statement. Okay. Now let us just try to understand the base, why going concern, standard with respect to going concern is there. See, when an organization is neither intending, right, or there is no necessity to shut down any of its operation, okay, so that organization will prepare its financial statements on what? Going concern basis. Okay, the assets, liabilities, they will come at what? The historical cost, right? However, if let's say there is a necessity to shut down any of its operations for foreseeable future, what is foreseeable future? A long time period, but at least it should be what? 12 months. So in that case, all the items, they will not come at historical cost, but at what? Liquidation basis, right? At realizable value, right? So whether an organization has appropriately done that or not, if it is to be made on going concern basis, whether that has been done, and if suppose there is a necessity or the management intends to shut down its business in the foreseeable future, foreseeable is what? At least 12 months from the end of the financial statements. Okay? So whether the financial statement in that basis have been prepared on liquidation basis. So we as an auditor, we have a responsibility in terms of SA 570. The name is going concern. And what is the responsibility? See, SA 570, ongoing concern, it deals with first, auditor's responsibility in the audit of financial statement relating to going concern. Take care. And the implications on audit report. So this essay we'll be studying in 2 parts. First of all, what is the auditor's responsibility with respect to financial statement relating to going concern? What are audit procedures will be performing, and then how we will be dealing that in the audit report. Okay. So Clear so far, students? Clear? Let me just have a look at your queries. And foreseeable future, nahi. Students, it is foreseeable future. Pooja, it is what? Foreseeable future. That is a long period of time. At least it should be 12 months from the end of this financial year for which I am conducting the audit. Foreseeable. Let me just show you this word from the module. Under going concern basis of accounting, the financial statements are prepared on the assumption that entity is a going concern and will continue its operation for the foreseeable future. That is at least 12 months from the balance sheet date. Okay? Now, see, whatever I have discussed with you so far is mentioned here. General purpose financial statements are prepared using going concern basis of accounting unless management either intends to liquidate the entity or cease operations or has no realistic alternative but to do so. So in this case, the financial statements will be prepared on what? Liquidation basis. That is on the realizable values, everything is going to come. Okay? When the use of going concern basis of accounting is appropriate, assets and liabilities are recorded on the basis that the entity will be able to realize its assets and discharge its liability in the normal course of business. Okay? So what are the objectives? See, if the management has prepared the financial statement on the going concern basis, so first of all, auditor will see one of the objective is to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence that the management's assumption of going concern is appropriate. That if the management is following going concern assumption, it is appropriate. And secondly, when the auditor is considering the first objective, that is whether the management's assumption of going concern is appropriate, he may come across various events and conditions. Okay? What are those events and conditions? We'll discuss in the later discussion of this essay. So he will see whether they cast a significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as going concern, and then to report in accordance with essay. See, these 3 points are what the objectives. The second point will be clear to you as and when we'll further proceed in this essay. So the objective is to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence and to conclude on what? The appropriateness of management's use of going concern basis. If management has used the assumption of going concern while preparing and presenting its financial statement, then whether that is appropriate or not. Okay? Then to conclude based on the audit evidence obtained, जो first वाले point से whatever audit evidence he has obtained, whether a material uncertainty exists relating to events or conditions that may cast significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as a going concern, and then to report in accordance with the essay. Okay? So let us try to understand this. I hope whatever we have discussed so far is clear. So let us take an example. So XYZ Limited is our client. And when we under SA 315, we were assessing the risk of material misstatement. If you remember, there is a point of knowledge of client business, and the first point is what? The external regulatory factors, including the applicable FRF. Remember, chapter number 2, knowledge of the client business. So when I was discussing with the management under SA 315, when I was assessing the risk of material misstatement, let's say I discussed with the management that management tell me who are your key suppliers and your key customers. The management said that they are the companies which the suppliers as well as the customers, they are located in Korea. Okay? Or let's say any country X. And now, if I see that with respect to the import-export with Korean companies, the government is going to change the government policies, or there is going to be a ban on the import or export from that country, tell me, is this a risk of material misstatement? Because this is going to hamper the going concern assumption of the organization. It might be possible that if the ban is actually implemented, the company is not going to have its supplier or have its customer. How will the company function then? How will the company operate? Okay. So let's say I'm discussing this fact with the management, and management says that, wait, we also know that such policy may come. So there is a mitigating factor to this. What is mitigating? That this factor is going to reduce the effect of such indication. Now, due to the ban or due to the change in the government policy, what is this change in the government policy? This is an indication now that the company may not be able to continue its business for the foreseeable future. Hana, this is an indication. Now, there is a mitigating factor to this indication, that is, it is reducing the effect of this factor. So management says that, wait, auditor, we are also aware about such situation, and we have already started exploring new suppliers and new customers. And in fact, one of the shipments of our raw materials from, say, India only, domestically, we have found the suppliers and customers, and we are working on this. Okay? So what am I doing? I am performing the risk assessment procedures under SA 315. Okay? So with respect to going concern, first of all, we as auditors, what will we do? We will, just a minute. We will perform risk assessment procedures, and first of all, we will determine whether management has assessed going concern. It might happen that the management says that, see, we have so much profits, we have so much pending orders in our hand, and nothing is going to happen to our going concern. So we have not assessed that whether for the foreseeable future, that is for the, at least for the next 12 months, we have not assessed our going concern, because we do not doubt our going concern. Management may say this to you, Hana. So what as an auditor you need to do? So first of all, you'll be determining whether management has assessed the going concern. How will management assess its going concern? See, what happens is, see, the preparation of financial statement is the responsibility of the management, Hana. So what can management do? Management will, let's say 31st March 21 is the period, uske liye financial statement are to be finalized for the next 12 months, at least for the next 12 months. It can be a larger, longer period. So management will see, will analyze, will assess that is there any indication of any fact or event with respect to which, like, if that event happens, then we will be unable to continue as a going concern. So management will first itself assess. Okay? So if management assesses that assesses the going concern, so what will auditor do? Auditor will discuss such assessment with the management, that management, tell me, is there any assessment that you have done with respect to going concern? So if management says yes, then discuss the same with the management. Ask the management that, ma'am, management, what are the identified events? Management may say, see, there is going to be a change in the government policy, and we have importers and exporters both from that country, and there is going to be a ban on the trade from that country. Okay, then ask the management, what are your plans to address that event? So management may tell you that we have already started discussing this we have already started exploring the new importers or exporters, or let's say we have already started exploring the domestic suppliers and customers. Okay? So first is what, when you are assessing the risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment, when you are inquiring the management, ask the management that, management, have you assessed your going concern? Why? Because see, first of all, the management has the responsibility to prepare the financial statement now. So they will have to make an assessment as to whether their going concern assumption is appropriate or not. Okay. Now, I gave you example that management may say that we don't see any doubt on our entity's ability to continue as a going concern. So we have not done any such assessment. Okay. So they have not done any such assessment and they have prepared the financial statement on going concern basis. Discuss with management that management, on what basis have you prepared your financial statement on going concern when you have not assessed that if any fact or event is there which may cast a doubt on your entity's ability to continue as a going concern. So discuss with the management what is the basis of their following the going concern, and inquire the management that management you also see if any events are there or not. Okay? And students, we have always seen that the auditor is required to remain alert throughout the conduct of the audit. He may come across many events or many conditions which may cast a significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. So auditor is advised by SA 570 that while you are performing the risk assessment procedures, discuss with the management whether they have assessed the going concern, the matters related to going concern or not. If management said yes, discuss such assessment with the management, discuss what are the identified events and discuss what are their plans to address the same. And if management has not assessed such thing, then discuss with management as to how, without assessing such thing, you have prepared your financial statement on going concern basis, and inquire the management of such events. And auditor, you need to be alert throughout the audit. Okay? And you all already know that whatever assessment we do with respect to the risk assessment, this can always be revised if you obtain any additional audit evidence. So auditor, if any additional audit evidence is obtained, revise your risk assessment. Okay. Now you may feel that, ma'am, okay, you are saying that be alert to the facts and conditions that may, cast a significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. Okay. And you also said that management will assess whether the going concern assumption is appropriate or not. What is to be considered while the management is assessing that? See, there are various factors. These may be financial, these may be operating, and these may be others. Okay? Like I gave you example of what? Key supplier. The key customer was the Korean company. Now there is going to be a ban. So this is an indication. This is a factor, and it is casting a very significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. Why? Because if there is no key supplier, if there is no key customer, how will the entity continue its operation for the foreseeable future? Okay? So management also assesses whether these indicators are there, and auditor will also have to remain alert to such events and conditions. So what are these? So let's say if auditor finds that there is a negative current ratio. Okay? Negative current ratio. So this is an indication that the organization may not be able to continue its future for a foreseeable future. Okay? Or let's say if auditor finds that the short-term borrowings are being utilized for the long-term purposes, that is financing the long-term assets. Okay? Or if he finds that fixed-term borrowings, that is the long-term borrowings, they are approaching maturity without realistic projects of renewal and repayment. The company has taken loans, they are reaching their maturity. However, the company do not know as to how they will be repaying the loan. There is no provision for renewal of such agreements. Okay? So what will company do? These are all the indications that financially, what are these? These are financial indicators that the organization will not be able to continue its operations in the foreseeable future. Why? Because you need cash now. You need funds to, continue your operation, and that is not available. Indication of withdrawal for financial support by creditors. Creditors, I have now told you that we will not give you any goods on credit now. Why? ठीक है. So be alert. Adverse key financial ratios, your GP ratio, yeah, or whatever other ratios are there, they are all coming negative. Negative operating cash flows. There is a cash crunch in the organization. How will the organization continue its operations for the foreseeable future? Okay. Then we discussed the example of key suppliers. So this is one of the operating indicators. See, loss of major key customer, franchisee, license, principal suppliers. Suppose you are into a pharmaceutical, your organization is into a pharmaceutical, it is a pharmaceutical company. It operates because it has some license. Now that license has been cancelled, or the license may be cancelled in the foreseeable future. Now what? How will the company operate? Okay. Loss of key management, the mastermind who is running your all the operations, he is now he has resigned. Now be alert to this situation now. Okay. The management intentions are there to liquidate the company or seize the operations. There are labor difficulties. The laborers, the workers, they are on continuous strike and the matter is not getting resolved. How will you operate in your factories? There is shortage of important supplies. You are not able to procure your raw materials. How will the organization continue? Emergence of a highly successful competitor is there. Let's say, take example of mobile companies, and you do not have the resources to update your technology. You say, I mean the client. So how will the client continue its operation for the foreseeable future? That means all these events, all these conditions are casting significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. Going concern nahi rakh payegi entity because of all these events. Others can be what? Let's say uninsured or underinsured catastrophe. Catastrophes is what? Disaster, earthquakes. Okay. So let's say where most of the factories are situated, there is a earthquake there now. Okay. So or there is it has been hit by tsunami. Now what will company do? Non-compliance with statutory regulatory requirements, legal regulatory proceeding against the companies, changes of law and regulation or government policy. The material, the product which the company was manufacturing has now, the manufacturing of such product has now been banned by the government. Now what? So these are what? These all are the indications. And just read this line. What are these? These are the events and conditions. And what is this event or condition signifying? These are casting, these are putting a significant doubt, putting important doubt, significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. Going concern is in danger. Why? Because these are the events. So when I said that management will assess whether the going concern assumption is appropriate, like whether to prepare a financial statement on going concern, management will also consider these factors now. And when you are considering whether the management's use of going concern is appropriate, that the management has prepared the financial statement based on going concern basis. Now, whether that basis is appropriate, auditor will also consider all these things. Okay? So what we have seen, we saw that while performing the risk assessment procedures, the auditor will discuss all these things with the management. He'll consider the financial, operating and other events. Okay? Now, let's say when he was performing the risk assessment procedures, when he was discussing with the management, and when he was conducting the audit, he came across any of these events. And if such events are identified, what will auditor do? Auditor will perform additional audit procedures. Abhi to identify hi kiya hai na in events ko. Now the time comes when you will ask the management, tell me, what are the mitigating factors? There is a ban on the import export from X and Y company, from where you are having the key supplier and the key customer. Now tell me any mitigating factor if you have. Hana? So first of all, auditor will perform additional audit procedures and the mitigating factors. Mitigating, what is meant by mitigating? Reducing or compensating the effect of that event. Okay? So again, if management has not assessed such factor, request management to make its assessment. That management, we have come across such policy. Let's say management was not aware about such policy. Ask the management, na, management, look at this policy, na. Request management to make its assessment, that you assess with respect to what? Going concern. Evaluate the future plans, discuss with management, and now ask the management, tell me now, what are your future plans? Whether your plans are going to be, whether they are going to improve the situation, whether your plan is feasible or not. Management says that, okay, we were already aware, or now we are aware that there is such policy. We have already started exploring the domestic buyers and the suppliers and customers, whether such plan is feasible. Let's say while inquiring or while performing your audit procedures, you came across a point that such raw material is not available in India, it is not domestically available. So you need to see whether it is feasible or not. Okay? So evaluate the future plans. And as we have seen, that cash crunch is one of the factors, events or conditions that indicate what? That cast a significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. Ask management to provide you with cash flows forecast. Like, let's say for the next 3-4 years, how are you going to manage your cash fund requirement? Hana? And consider all the facts that comes to your knowledge. And last but not the least, obtain a written representation from the management. What? Regarding their future action plans and feasibility of these plans. Okay? See, going concern is very significant. Okay? Obtain a written representation that management, whatever are your plans, whatever are your forecasts, whatever you are going to use as a mitigating factor, please give this to us in writing. Please give this to us as a written representation. Okay? So we have done half of this essay. Then the next half consists of implications on audit report. That is how to deal all these situations in the audit report, which I'll be doing after a short break of 5 minutes. But before taking a break, I'll just quickly recap with respect to essay 570. Okay? So students, be with me. And after this essay 570, first of all, I'll be devoting 15 to 20 minutes for revising the entire chapter, and then we'll go on with discussion of practice questions. Okay? So the next 1.5 or 2 hours are going to be really very, very important, and I assure you that they are going to be very, very helpful to you. Okay? So be with me, stay connected, and first of all, revise this essay, jitna bhi we have done so far. So we saw that going concern is a fundamental accounting assumption. Okay? So as such, the disclosure is not required. But yes, if it is not followed, then the disclosure is to be done. Okay? And when an organization, when a client is preparing the financial statement on the going concern basis, then the financial statement will be at historical cost. However, it might be possible that the management of the organization, they intend to liquidate the business in the foreseeable future. So in that case, the financial statement will be prepared on what? Liquidation basis. Okay? And we as auditor, we have to see whether the management's use of going concern is appropriate. And when we are looking at all those things, we may come across various events and conditions that may cast significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as on a going concern. We need to consider those facts, and then we need to report on our financial statement. So kaise karna hai? First of all, we will ask the management when we are, obtaining an information about the entity and its environment, when we are performing the risk assessment procedures under SA 315, we will determine whether management has assessed the going concern or not. Okay? If management has done that, we will discuss such assessment with the management. We will ask the management, tell us those identified events. Okay? And what are your plans to address? If management has not done such assessment, first of all, discuss with management. Management, you have not assessed going concern. Tell me, how have you prepared the financial statement on the going concern basis? ठीक है, and thereafter inquire the management that if they find any event or not. An auditor needs to be alert with respect to each and every event or condition that may cast a significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. And these are the events, that is financial, operating and others. And if any event has been identified, straightforward, do not go to the audit report, है ना? Perform additional audit procedures and consider the effect of the mitigating factors. ठीक है, it might be possible that the management has already assessed all those events, they have already identified those events, and they are working on mitigating the effect of such, they are working in finding the factors that may mitigate the effect of such events. So if management has not assessed, then request the management to make its assessment. Evaluate the future plans of the management with respect to those events, as to whether such plans are feasible or not, whether they'll improve the situation or not. ठीक है, consider the cash flow forecast at least for 3 to 4 years, 4 to 5 years. Ask the management to provide you with the cash flow forecast and see whether that data which has been used to prepare the cash flow forecast, that is reliable or not. The assumptions that management has taken, these are rational or not. ठीक है, management has prepared a cash flow assuming that it will receive so and so funds from such and such person, whether that is reasonable or not, है ना? If any additional fact is there, consider that, obtain a written representation. ठीक है, so here I'll take a break of quick 10 minutes, maximum 10 minutes, and then I'll be discussing this implication part, and thereby after that the practice questions. ठीक है, so see you after 10 minutes. Okay. Students, I hope you all are back after the short break. So we were discussing essay 570 ongoing concern, and we have so far discussed about the various audit procedures that are required to be performed. Okay. Now, what are the implications on the audit report? Okay. Students, see, when we are discussing the implications on the audit report now, you will come across in this topic various kind of opinions that an auditor may issue. Okay, which, as I always tell you, are discussed in detail in chapter number 11, which will be done with you in great detail. Okay. However, for the purpose of this topic, I will be telling you in very brief as to what is an adverse opinion or modified as and when they'll come. Okay. So now tell me, first situation. Okay. I'll just do one thing. I'll not show you the answer. Now tell me, just a minute. So if the going concern assumption, that the basis that has been used by the management is not correct, if the going concern basis used by the management is inappropriate, tell me what kind of opinion should I give? Okay. First of all, tell me if the going concern assumption is inappropriate, that is, the financial statement should have been prepared on liquidation basis. However, the management has prepared the financial statement on going concern basis. Tell me, can I say that financial statement reflected true and fair view? Quickly, I need answer in 10 seconds, that yes or no. Can I say that financial statement reflected true and fair view? Yes or no, quickly. I need answers and quick replies. So the answer is no. Okay. So if going concern basis is inappropriate, see, financial statement should be prepared on the liquidation basis. On realizable values, the things should come. However, they are coming on going concern basis. This is absolutely incorrect. This is so significant. This thing is so significant that I, as an auditor, I'll give an adverse opinion. I will give an adverse opinion, and for the purpose of this topic, try to understand that I'm saying that the financial statement do not reflect a true and fair view. This is simple, that if the going concern is inappropriate, the financial statement should have been prepared on liquidation basis, but the management has prepared it on what? Going concern basis. In that case, I'll say that the financial statement do not reflect a true and fair view. That is, I will be giving an adverse opinion. Okay. Second, if the going concern is inappropriate, that is, the financial statement should have been prepared on what? Liquidation basis, and management has prepared the financial statement on liquidation basis, and with respect to that, the disclosure is also given in the financial statement. Okay. So going concern should not be followed, and that has been done. Why? Because financial statement are prepared on what? Liquidation basis, and with respect to this, disclosure is given. Okay. So the financial statement reflect a true and fair view. So I'll say the financial statement reflect a true and fair view. That is, I'll give an unmodified opinion. That is a clean report कि सब कुछ ठीक हुआ है. ठीक है. But students, see, this fact that the financial statement has been prepared on liquidation basis and there is a disclosure with respect to this in notes to accounts by the management, I, as an auditor, I would like to, inform this to the users of the financial statement, that see, users of the financial statement, the management has prepared the financial statement on liquidation basis, and this fact is disclosed by the management in note number so and so of notes to accounts. So though the financial statements are correctly prepared, why? Because they should not have been prepared on going concern, and management has not followed going concern. They have prepared the financial statement on liquidation basis. So I'll give a clean report or unmodified, or what I'm saying, that financial statement reflect a true and fair view. But since I want to inform the users of the financial statement that see, users, Please note this fact. I should add this in EOM paragraph, which is emphasis of matter paragraph, which is discussed in detail in essay 706. So what is this? Basically, when the auditor feels, he understands that any matter is there which is fundamental to the user's understanding of the financial statement. So though he's giving a clean report, but along with that, he's also mentioned in this fact that the financial statement are prepared on the liquidation basis, and the same has been disclosed by the management in note number so and so of the notes to accounts. He will mention this fact in emphasis of matter paragraph. So in the report, he'll add a paragraph with the heading emphasis of matter, and he'll mention this fact there. Okay? When you will be doing essay 706 in chapter number 11, you will be understanding EOM paragraph in detail. Okay? So second part is also clear. Now the third, when going concern is appropriate. Okay? That management has prepared the financial statement on going concern basis, and that this is correct. Okay? And a material uncertainty also exists. That is, there are events and conditions. ठीक है? So ठीक है, अभी going concern पे बनाए हैं, that is correct. ठीक है? But this fact that there is a material uncertainty with respect to the entity's ability to continue as a going concern, these events and conditions can also not be ignored. ठीक है? So अभी तो किया है, but auditor understands that this fact that the events and conditions are there, that there is a material uncertainty that the entity might not be able to continue its business for a foreseeable future. In this case, auditor understands that there is a requirement of disclosure by the management in the financial statement. Okay? So if going concern is appropriate, कि going concern पे बनना था financial statement, and financial statement has been prepared on going concern basis, but material uncertainty भी है, which should be disclosed by the management. ठीक है? So in first case, if that has been disclosed by the management, ठीक है, going concern basis पे बना है, but mitigating factors की वजह से going concern basis is appropriate, right? However, this material uncertainty is there, events and conditions तो हैं, ठीक है? In our example, import and export with respect to the with Korean company, the ban is going to be there, ठीक है? Mitigating factors है, उसकी वजह से going concern basis is clear, but I cannot ignore these events and conditions now. So adequate disclosure in financial statement is required. By whom? By management. ठीक है? Now, if management adequately discloses such thing in financial statement, then what is to be done? Auditor will give a clean report. ठीक है? Why? Because going concern basis is appropriate. Why? Because they were mitigating factors. However, since this fact is relevant, this has been duly disclosed by the management in the financial statement, so auditor is giving a clean report. But auditor understands that in terms of SA 570, auditor has certain reporting responsibilities. ठीक है? Now, auditor will add a separate section in the audit report, and the heading will be material uncertainty relating to going concern, where the auditor will be informing the users of his audit report that, see, ठीक है, my report is a clean report, but there is a material uncertainty relating to going concern. ठीक है? So first is this case. Second, if management is not disclosing such fact in the financial statement, going concern appropriate tha. Why? Because of the mitigating factors. However, auditor cannot ignore all such facts and events which are casting a significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. ठीक है? And management says that I will not disclose this fact in the financial statement. I'll prepare my financial statements on going concern basis, and with respect to this uncertainty part, I'm not going to disclose anything in the financial statement now. Considering, see, there are two types of opinion, qualified and adverse. ठीक है? Considering whether the impact is on the financial statement as a whole or not, the auditor may give a qualified or adverse opinion in terms of SA 705. And again, I'll tell you that in chapter number 11, you will have a detailed discussion with respect to qualified adverse opinion. ठीक है, तो अभी के लिए try to understand. See, auditor cannot give a clean report ना. Why? Because disclosure was required, है ना, and management is not giving that disclosure, तो clean report तो नहीं आएगा. And auditor, when he is giving a qualified or adverse opinion, in the basis of opinion paragraph, in the basis for qualified or adverse opinion paragraph section, he'll mention the fact with respect to material uncertainty. See, whenever the auditor gives a qualification, he gives a qualified report, adverse report, or disclaimer of opinion, he gives a basis of that opinion, that why is he saying that, why is he giving an adverse opinion, why is he giving a qualified opinion. So where he'll be mentioning the reason as to why the qualified or adverse opinion has been given. Okay? So let us quickly look at this implication. If going concern is inappropriate, straight away in adverse opinion. Okay? Because this is a very significant thing. Okay? Then going concern is inappropriate, and management understand this. Therefore, management has prepared the financial statement on liquidation basis, and proper disclosure has been done. Then give a clean report, unmodified, but the auditor should mention this fact in emphasis of matter paragraph. That's, listen, users of the financial statement, the management has already disclosed this fact in the financial statements in notes to accounts number so and so, and I also want to draw your attention to such fact. Okay? When going concern assumption is appropriate but a material uncertainty exists. Going concern assumption appropriate क्यों है? Because there were mitigating factors which management told us, but those events and conditions cannot be ignored. Okay? So if management discloses, makes an adequate disclosure with respect to such material uncertainty, then auditor will give an unmodified, that is clean report. However, in a separate section, the heading will be material uncertainty related to going concern. Auditor is going to mention that because there is a material uncertainty relating to going concern due to so and so events, there is a material uncertainty. Okay? However, the opinion is going to be a clean report. Okay? And with respect to the second situation whereby the management refuses to give an adequate disclosure, auditor will give a qualified or adverse opinion depending upon the circumstances. And in the basis of such qualified or adverse opinion section, he'll be mentioning this fact about the going concern. Okay? So students, quickly tell me whether you are able to understand SA 570 and whether you all are ready for discussing the practice questions and the quick revision of the entire chapter. Quickly, I need answers. First of all, tell me whether each and every concept in this chapter is clear or not. Quickly, I definitely need answers from your side. Chalo, next 15 minutes on the revision, and then we'll discuss the practice questions. And I'll try my level best that this revision is helpful to all of you. I need your replies whether you have understood or not the entire chapter. This is a chapter of 87 pages. We have discussed each and everything in detail, much in detail. And in case any doubt is there, you can always send in your queries. And I would also like your replies whether your understanding part is clear or not. Learning to now, I know that you all are going to do now. Okay? So a quick revision. I'm waiting for your replies. Students, about inherent risk, Riya, inherent risk, that has been discussed in detail in chapter number 4. Okay? So abhi ke liye for this chapter, wherever it will come, I'll explain this to you, but in detail we will be doing that in chapter number 4. Okay? And let me just have a look at your queries. ठीक है. So quickly be with me, and revision means that you also need to go through all the pages. You must be having the module in front of you, or I'm also sharing the screen. So with concentration, let us start. See, we started with essay 230, whereby we understood the definition of what audit documentation, and it says that it is a record of audit procedures performed, relevant audit evidence obtained, and conclusions the auditor reached. What is the objective and nature? I told you that these are somewhat same, that it provides the evidence that the audit was planned and performed in accordance with essays and legal regulatory and requirements, and that it provides a sufficient appropriate record of the basis of auditor's report. ठीक है? With respect to nature, it says achievement of overall objectives of the auditor. Purpose is what? It helps the engagement team for what? Plan and perform, to direct, supervise, and review, to hold accountable for its work. It helps in for matters of continuing significance to future audits and internal inspection and external inspection. Form, content, and extent, we understood that an experienced auditor having no previous connection should be able to understand some things. What are those things? Entry of audit procedure, results of audit procedures and the audit evidence obtained, and the significant matters that is arising during the course of audit, and the professional judgment that has been done. With respect to entry of audit procedure, more specifically, what are the identifying characteristics of specific items, who performed the work and the date, who reviewed the date, and the extent of such review. With respect to the significant matters, what discussions, with whom and on what date, and how, in case of any inconsistencies, how the same were addressed. The form, content, and extent depends upon various factors. You can just have a read at them. Everything will be included in the audit documentation. It can be on paper, electronic, or other media. Everything, say, I mean the examples that are given, audit programs, analysis, memoranda. However, that audit documentation is not a substitute for entities accounting record, and audit documentation will not include superseded drafts of working papers or anything which has been corrected for typographical errors or duplicates of documents. I told you that confused थोड़ी ना करना है. जो experienced auditor having no previous connection है, he should be able to understand ना, so there should be total clarity. That is why superseded is what? Which has been replaced over by some other document, to just remove them na. Timely preparation के लिए it should be on timely basis. Why? Because it helps in effective and efficient review. Quality of audit बढ़ता है, and chances are there that if you prepare audit documentation after the audit work has been done, it is going to be less accurate. So what is audit file? One or more folders or other storage media in physical, electronic form, which contains the record that comprise the audit documentation for a specific engagement with respect to a particular client, particular year, specific engagement you are going to prepare to make an audit file. Assembly of the audit file. First of all, it should be on timely basis. SQC 1 says that the firm should have the policies and procedures for the assembly of audit file, timely completion of audit file, as well as retention of the audit file. Okay? And as such, what is the time period? Not more than 60 days after the date of the auditor's report. Date of the auditor report ke baad 60 period ka time is given, and that is time period is given only for administrative kind of work. No new audit procedures can be done. What all administrative kind of work, like deleting, discarding, superseding documentation, sorting, collating, or cross-referencing working papers, or signing off the checklist. And retention के लिए the period is no shorter than 7 years from the date of the auditor's report. ठीक है? Significant matters and professional judgments, you can just see that. See, our documentation should enable the experienced auditor having no previous connection to, in fact, understand your professional judgment also. Okay? So example of accounting estimate, their management has applied their judgment. In order to see whether these are correct or not, you must have applied your professional judgment to document them. Okay? Significant matters. If you revise your assessment of risk of material misstatement, why revision has been done, there must be some reason for that. Document that. If you are unable to apply any essay, why you are unable to apply, document that. Okay? Completion memorandum is what? Summary of your entire significant matters and how you address. It helps in effective and efficient review, and more specifically in case of large and complex audit. And SQC 1 says audit documentation is the property of the auditor unless otherwise specified by law or regulation. I gave you example of section 143 subsection 12, that in case of fraud exceeding certain amount, we need to communicate it to the central government, and central government may ask for audit documentation. That time we need to show it to them. And can we show our audit documentation to the client? Yes, at our discretion. It is not mandatory. At our discretion, the auditor may make portions, extracts available to the client, but it should not undermine the validity of the work performed. I gave you example of what? Surprise check. Okay. What is audit evidence? Audit evidence is what? SA 500 deals with audit evidence. The name is very simple, audit evidence. Information used by the auditor in arriving at the conclusions on which the auditor's opinion is based. This information can be of two types: the accounting records underlying the financial statements, and secondly, other information which authenticates these accounting records and validates the auditor's rationale behind the true and fair presentation of the financial statements. This we have seen. Okay. Then information, if you are using the information provided by management's expert, I told you that who is management expert? Any individual organization whose work, whose expertise in the field other than accounts and auditing is being used by the management in preparation or presentation of financial statements. So can we use it as an evidence? Yes, but before doing that, auditor needs to consider what the competence, capability and objectivity of that expert, obtain an understanding of the work of expert, and evaluate the appropriateness of that work, whether it is relevant for the assertion the auditor wants to use. With respect to the information which has been produced by the entity, what is the accuracy, completeness, whether that information is accurate, complete, whether it is sufficiently precise and detailed. If there is inconsistency, perform or modify your audit procedure or perform additional audit procedures and consider the effect of the matter on other aspects. Then we understood what is meant by sufficiency. Sufficiency is the measure of quantity and appropriateness is the measure of quality. And we saw that audit evidence can be supportive or corroborative in nature. Two audit evidence which are supporting each other. These can be contradictory in nature, and absence of any information is also an audit evidence, like if management refuses to provide you with written representation. So sufficiency, if the auditor's risk of material misstatement is high, auditor will obtain high audit evidence, more audit evidence. If quality is good, I gave you example of FDs, original FD in front of you when you are examining fixed deposits. So the quality is so high that you may have only that audit evidence, that the quantity can be less. However, higher quantity will not compensate for the poor quality. And what are the factors that affects the professional judgment of an auditor with respect to sufficiency of audit evidence is what? Materiality. More material the item is, more audit evidence you are going to obtain. Risk of material misstatement is high, you are going to obtain more audit evidence. And if the population is what? Small and homogeneous, similar and small, the audit evidence will be less. And if it is going to be large and heterogeneous, it is going to be what? More. Okay. Then appropriateness, we discussed that it is what? The quality, and it is affected by relevance and reliability. And if you remember, with respect to relevance, we saw that there should be logical connection with the purpose of the audit procedure and what assertion you want to check. Okay. With respect to reliability, it depends upon the source and the nature. Source can be internal or external, and nature can be visual, documentary, or oral. And we saw that the audit evidence, the reliability increases when the audit evidence is obtained from independent source, when it is obtained directly by the auditor, when it is in documentary form, and when these are original. With respect to the information internal, which is internal to the organization, if the controls are effective, it is going to be reliable. Okay. Then we discussed various audit procedures, and I told you that whether the auditor is performing risk assessment procedures, further audit procedures, which are further consisting of test of controls or substantive procedures, auditor performs what? Audit procedures. Like when the auditor is assessing the risk of material misstatement under SA 315, what is the name of SA 315? Identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment, auditor may perform inquiry, inspection, observation, analytical procedures. Okay? When the auditor is performing test of control, he may again perform any of these audit procedures. And depending upon the circumstances in which they are performed, the audit procedures may be called risk assessment procedures, test of controls, or substantive procedures. So what are the procedures? Inspection, observation, external confirmation, recalculation, reperformance, analytical procedures, and inquiry. Inspection is what when you are examining documents. Okay? It can be internal, external, it can be on paper form, electronic form, and it also includes physical examination of an asset. Okay? What is observation? When you are looking at the process being performed by others. Example, inventory count. However, observation has a limitation, that it is limited to the point when it is performed, and the fact that you are being observed, it may affect how the process of procedure is performed. External confirmation, SA 505, when I'll discuss that, I'll see to it. Recalculation is checking the mathematical accuracy, keywords. What are these? Manual or electronic. Reperformance is auditor's independent execution of procedures or controls that were originally performed as a part of entity's internal control. Example, PRS. Analytical procedures, SA 520, chapter number 8, that is what? Ratios, comparing the data. Hana? Inquiry. Inquiring of what? Seeking information of knowledgeable persons, financial and non-financial, within the entity, outside the entity. Okay? However, it can be formal written or informal oral. However, inquiry alone is not a sufficient appropriate audit evidence. And I told you that with respect to inquiry, like inquiry is not sufficient appropriate audit evidence on its own. Same way, written representation, though it is a necessary audit evidence, but not sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Now, what are risk assessment procedures? Audit procedures performed, why? To obtain an understanding of the entity and its environment, including the entity's internal control, why? To identify and assess the risk of material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, at what levels. I told you that risk assessment procedures are performed at financial statement level pe bhi, assertion level pe bhi, I gave you example of what? Foreign exchange rate hi galat use kiya, so it will impact the financial statement as a whole. However, kuch depreciation figure wrong calculate kiya, it is at assertion level. So when the auditor performs risk assessment procedures under SA 315, he responds to those risks under SA 330 by performing the further audit procedures. Further audit procedures consist of your test of control, substantive procedure. What are test of controls? The audit procedures designed to evaluate the operating effectiveness of controls in PDC, preventing or detecting and correcting material misstatement at what level? Assertion. Why? Because management will implement controls on each and every assertion. Na? Pure financial statement pe to there cannot be an internal control. Hai? And in SA 315, auditor has obtained general understanding. But before relying on the internal control, he needs to be doubly sure. Therefore, he's checking what? Operating effectiveness. Okay? And when to perform? When in SA 315, he intends to rely. Agar intend hi nahi karega, to he'll not waste his time in checking the internal controls. He'll go for what? Detailed checking. Okay? And when substantive procedures are not sufficient to provide sufficient appropriate audit evidence at what? Assertion level. Okay? And I gave example when volume of transaction is very, very high. Okay. So what is the nature? First of all, inquiry to karna hi hai, but in combination with that, perform other audit procedures. How controls are applied at relevant times. I gave you example of what? Power failure. When the authorized signatory, one of the authorized signatory is not present. The consistency with which the internal controls are applied, by whom and by what means, and whether indirect control ko bhi check karna hai ya nahi. And you all know that inquiry alone is not sufficient. What is the extent? What factors will determine the extent? First of all, management kitna use karta hai internal control ko. Then auditor kitna rely karta hai on internal control. Then what is the expected rate of deviation? What is the relevance and reliability of the audit evidence with respect to that internal control? And if there are a number of control with respect to a particular assertion, so the result of the other test of other controls. Okay? Timing, it can be at a particular time or throughout the period. We discussed that inventory is physical verification is done at the end of the period. So this is the example of what particular time. Can the audit evidence used in previous audit be used as audit evidence? Yes. However, before doing that, with respect to internal controls, consider 6 points. I told you 3 points are related to effectiveness, 3 points are related to risk. So effectiveness of other elements of control. If management is honest, then only the others are going to follow the internal control. Effectiveness of general IT control. ऐसा तो नहीं है that anyone is just entering using password ID and manipulating the reports. And the effectiveness of the control. कोई deviation तो नहीं था last year, or if there has been any personal change. Risk of what? Characteristic of control, whether manual है या automatic है. Risk of what? If there is a changing circumstances, but there is lack of change, and risk of material misstatement and extensive reliance. And auditor, please also consider what? The continuing relevance of that internal control. ऐसा तो नहीं है last time manual था, इस बारी सभी की सभी has been automated, and the entire accounting process has been automated, and still you are relying on the earlier वाला internal control. If there is a deviation identified, क्या करोगे? First of all, you will see whether the test of control that you have already performed, whether they provide you with an appropriate basis of reliance on controls, or is there a need to perform additional test of control? Yeah, this risk should be addressed by using substantive procedures only. What is substantive procedures? When you are performing the audit procedures to detect material misstatement at the assertion level, that is when you're checking the financial statements. You may perform test of details. That is when you are performing what? Vouching and verification. You are checking each and every transaction in detail from start to end. And second is what? Substantive analytical procedure. That is you are calculating the ratios. Okay, so this we have done. So even if risk of material misstatement is low, even if ICR good, why an auditor will perform substantive procedures? So first of all, if risk of material misstatement is less, but the assessment of risk of material misstatement is what? Judgmental. And there may be chances that the auditor may not identify all risk of material misstatement. And ठीक है, ICR good, but ICR after all what? Implemented by the management. There are certain inherent limitations to internal control. Example, management override. What is meant by override? That management may disregard the internal control, may itself not follow the internal control. So auditor may perform, if ICR good, auditor may perform in test of control plus analytical procedures. That is, he may calculate ratios. He may only perform test of details or a combination of all these. And these you can just see. External confirmation I'll be doing when we will discuss external confirmation. Now, what is an assertion? There is a doubt on this. So I'll just devote 1 or 2 minutes on this. See, whatever information has been given in the financial statement by the management is what? Assertion. Okay? So I divide this definition into 2 parts, that these are representation by management, explicit or otherwise. Explicit or expressly mentioned or implied, that are embodied, included in the financial statement. This is one part whereby management and assertion, the relationship is given. Then as used by the auditor uses these assertions only. Why? To consider different types of potential misstatement that may occur. ठीक है, उसी में तो mistake ढूंढना है ना, कि whether there is any material misstatement or not with respect to each and every assertion. ठीक है. And with respect to classes of transactions that have taken place, the various assertions are, for example, if management is saying that sales during the year is 1 crore, so management wants to assert that such sale has actually occurred. All the sales have been included. This is accurately coming. The sales pertain to the current period only, and the sales have been properly classified. If management is asserting that there is a building of, let's say, 10 crores account balance as on a particular day, management wants to say, management is asserting. So what are the assertion? Existence assertion. That it is implied that when a building of 10 crores is coming, it actually exists. The company is having a right over that building. All the buildings have been including, and the valuation and allocation, everything, depreciation and everything has been accurately calculated. Same way with respect to presentation and disclosure. Whatever presentation disclosures have been done, these have occurred. The organization has a right or the obligation. These are complete. There is correct classification, understandability, and accuracy, and valuation is also correct. Okay. So we understood that there can be implied assertion, expressed assertion. There can be negative assertion, like no contingent liability is what negative. Okay. There can be implied negative assertion, like if building is not mentioned, it means it is implied that there is no building. Okay. And I told you that this paragraph explains this concept beautifully, that we as an auditor, we need to give our opinion on the financial statement as a whole, that whether the income statement results shows results of operation correctly, and whether balance sheet shows the financial position correctly, true and fair view is there or not. Okay. But unless and until we are sure about each and every individual assertion that are coming in these statements, we cannot give our opinion on the financial statement as a whole. So we as an auditor, we need to check each and every individual item of these statements, that is each and every individual assertion that has been given by the management. And student, these 8 points you can yourself go through. These are basically the summary as to what we have discussed in assertions. Okay. So with this, we have finished these topics. Now written representation. I'll quickly take you through these essays, and then we'll go to the discussion of practice questions. So essay 580 is on written representation, which says that it is a written statement by the management to the auditor, and it is an audit evidence. Okay. However, these shall not include what financial statements, assertions, or the supporting books of accounts, because we are checking those financial statements only, and written representation in itself is not a sufficient appropriate audit evidence. It is only a necessary audit evidence. Okay. So what is the objective? To obtain written representation about what the management's responsibility, कि जो preconditions management ने essay 210 में acknowledge किया था, whether they have actually fulfilled those or not, to support other audit evidence and to respond appropriately. That respond appropriately when management provides written representation or when management refuses. Okay. So from whom the management who has the knowledge, who is involved in preparation and presentation of financial statement. Again, management make inquiries of certain persons having specialized knowledge who have helped them in preparing and presenting the financial statement. Okay. So if the written representations, whatever management likes, whatever auditor feels is required, can take them. And essays also specify, like we have seen in essay 501 with respect to litigations and claims. Okay. Then it should be signed, the written representation should be for a date as near as practicable, but not after the date of auditor's report. Okay. It should be in a form of representation letter. If you have a doubt, concern, then you will need to perform what? The audit procedures to resolve the matter. If that matter is still unresolved, then reconsider the management's competence, integrity, ethical values. And if you conclude that written representation are not correct, then you will modify your opinion under SA 705, and you will consider its effect on the other written representations also. If management refuses to provide you with written representation, discuss with management, reevaluate the integrity of management, evaluates its effect on reliability of other written representation, and take appropriate action. Okay. Essay 501, it deals with what? Specific consideration for selected items. Specific consideration is what? Existence condition of what? Inventory, completeness of litigation and claims, presentation and disclosure of segment information as per FRF. Inventory के लिए क्या करना है? If it is material, auditor को sufficient appropriate audit evidence देखना है. How? By attending, unless impracticable, और attend करके क्या करना है? Evaluate करना है management instruction को, observe करना है performance of management count procedure, inspect करना है inventory को, perform करना है test count को, perform करना है audit procedure in order to see whether the inventory count, actual results and the entity's financial results are matching or not. ठीक है. If you are unable, attend it on alternate day plus minus the transactions for intervening period. If it is you are unable due to unforeseen. See, first case was if inventory count is taken is conducted on a date other than the date of financial statement, then no problem, attend that inventory count on alternate days. Same way, if you are unable to attend due to unforeseen circumstances, Attend it on an alternate day and perform the transactions for intervening procedures for intervening transactions. If it is impracticable, then try to perform alternate procedures. If then also you are unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, give what? Modify your opinion. But essay 200, it says there is an inherent limitations that if there is an inherent limitation that timeliness is to be seen, balance between benefit and cost is to be seen. But the matter of difficulty, time and cost, it cannot be considered as what? A valid base for the auditor to omit the audit procedures. So general inconvenience mein auditor will not say that I'll not attend inventory count. ठीक है? And if it is kept with third party, request confirmation from the third party with respect to existence and condition and perform inspection. ठीक है? With respect to litigation and claims, how to identify, inquire management, in-house legal counsel, review minutes of meetings, ठीक है? And review the legal expense account. If you feel that with respect to identified litigation, there is risk of material misstatement, or if you feel that there is a litigation which has not been disclosed by the management, तो क्या करना है? Directly communicate with entities external legal counsel through a letter of inquiry. ठीक है? Or in what situations you will definitely consult directly with the external legal counsel? When the matter is significant, it is complex, and there is disagreement with the management and external entities external counsel. However, in that case, now auditor, please attend in with management permission and held in with the representative of management. ठीक है? And obtain a written representation. And with respect to segment information, obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence that whatever segment information has been given, that is in accordance with FRF. Obtain an understanding of the methods that has been used by management, whether they result in the disclosure required by FRF, and also do the testing of the application, perform analytical procedures. Methods के लिए क्या देखोगे? Whether inter-segment amounts का proper treatment है नहीं, comparison with budgets, consistency with previous period, allocation of assets and cost among segments. So with this, we have done 4 essays. We have revised 4 essays. Quickly tell me whether you are able to, get any benefit from this discussion, from this revision. Then only I'll continue. Otherwise, we'll straightforward go to the practice questions. Let me just have a look at your query. Students, I hope, what is this student? Sarath, I hope your query with respect to assertion is clear. ठीक है? So I'll do one thing. Meanwhile, you will send in my reply, send in the replies. I'll revise these essays after just having taking you through the practice questions, because practice questions I wanted to discuss with you today. Okay, so just a minute, let me just share the screen of the practice questions so that. So students are saying we are getting a lot of benefit, but students, I want to discuss the practice questions also. So first of all, let us discuss the MCQs. Okay, and then if you all will agree, and if time permits, we'll revise the rest of the essays. So quickly, I need answers. SQC 1 requires the audit firm. See, students, these questions have already been uploaded, and I have already asked you to go through all these questions. So let us quickly discuss. SQC 1 requires the audit firm to establish policies and procedures for retention of engagement documentation. The retention period of audit engagement ordinarily is no shorter than -years from the date of the audit report. Quickly write 1 and the answer. I need replies from all of you. Please send in your replies. These questions will definitely help you. So all those who are asking me to continue with the revision, I'll continue with it after discussing few questions from practice questions. So yes, the answer is C, 7. Second, dash may be defined as the information used by the auditor in arriving at the conclusion on which the auditor's opinion is based. So what is the answer? Quickly, I need answers from your side. So the answer is audit evidence. With respect to first, the answer was 7 years. Okay. Which of the following is correct? Audit evidence comprises both information that supports or corroborates management assertion and any information that contradicts. Yes, this is correct. Okay. Audit evidence is necessary to support the auditor's opinion and cumulative in nature and primarily obtained from audit procedures performed. This is also pairing to be correct. So the answer is what? C. Both statement 1 and 2 are correct. So students are correctly answering second ka D. Okay. And third का answer is what? C. ठीक है. When the auditor is looking at the process of procedure be performed by others, it is called what? Observation. ठीक है. Student quickly send me your replies because it is already 8:35 and I really want to revise the rest of the essays. Dash may be defined as the audit procedure designed to evaluate the operating effectiveness of control in PDC, preventing, detecting, correcting material misstatement. So it is what? Test of controls. Which of the following is not an assertion? See, students, whenever you are attempting the MCQs, read the questions carefully. Okay? Students get confused. Many of the students will read it as which of the following is an assertion. So this not word is very, very important here. Not an assertion about class of transaction. So what is the answer? Rights and obligation. Completeness तो होता ही है, cut off भी होता है. अच्छा, completeness is repeated again, but rights and obligations. ठीक है. Which of the following statements? See, it is mentioned not correct, so don't get confused. Audit evidence obtained directly by the auditor is less reliable. Nahi. This is not correct. Second statement, the reliability of audit evidence that is generally generated internally is increased when the related control over its preparation and maintenance imposed by the entity are effective. This is correct. So I can say which of the statement is not correct. So the answer will be what? A. Students, look at this question carefully. It says which of the following is not correct. Okay. See, many of you are getting confused. Tanu, read the question again. Hana and Parth is saying, yes, he missed this not earlier. Okay. So this not is not to be missed. Read the questions carefully because see, this is such a simple MCQ. But if you do not read the question carefully, you are going to end up with the wrong answer. Okay. Which of the following is not correct? 230 is for audit documentation, 580 is for written representation, 505 is not for this. This is what? 501. 505 is for external confirmation. So which of the following is again here? Not. Don't miss the important words. Dash may be defined as written statement by management provided to the auditor to confirm certain matters. Written representation. Okay. As per SA 501, the objective of the auditor is to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence regarding the all of the above: existence of inventory, completion, litigation claims, presentation, disclosure. Okay. A request that confirming party respond directly to the auditor indicating whether the confirming party agrees or disagrees with the information in the request provided. What kind of confirmation is that? It is positive confirmation. Because positively the auditor needs to reply. The auditor needs the reply whether the other party agrees with the information or not. So the answer to question number 11 is what? B. I know I am speeding up. Why? Because we need to cover other things also. Which of the following is an example of internal evidence? Internal evidence generated internally within the organization is what? Sales invoice. Purchase to bahar se aata hai, confirmation bhi bahar se aata hai, so answer is what? Sales invoice. Again, which of the following is not correct? Okay? So all those students who are saying that ma'am, we actually missed this not in the earlier questions, so be careful. The purpose of discussing these questions is what? So that I can tell you the points where students make so much mistakes. Okay? Is not correct statement. The written representation shall be in the form of representation letter address. This is correct. The date of written representation shall be as near as practicable to, but not after the date of auditor's report. This is also correct. Written representations include financial statement assertions. No, this is not correct. So the answer is C. So the 13th, this is not, the answer is what? C. SQC 1 provides that unless otherwise specified by law regulation, audit documentation is the property of what? The auditor. And the last, dash may be defined as one or more of the folders or other storage media in physical or electronic form containing records that contain documentation with respect to a specific engagement. So the answer is what? C. So many of you are answering it correctly. Okay. So students, let me just take you through the descriptive questions also. Okay. Just have a look at these questions, and in case any doubt you have with respect to particular question, just send in your query. I'll discuss that question particularly. And when I started the class, I saw a reply from one of the students who was saying that I have practiced 5 questions by writing. So very good, whoever was the student. I forgot the name, but student, you all should also practice by writing. Okay. So SC 230 audit documentation deals with auditor's responsibility to prepare audit documentation for an audit of financial statement. What is the purpose? Explain. You have seen there are 6 points. Remember, audit engagement को 3 type में help करता है. Then continuing significance, future audit, and internal inspection and external inspection. ठीक है. So question 2. Read question 2 with me. Messrs. Samar, Amar and Associates are the statutory auditors of Ganga Limited for financial year 2021. CA Samar is the engagement partner for such assignment. While discussing with the engagement team, CA Samar briefed his team about the requirements of assembly of audit files. What would CA Amar tell the team about the time limit with respect to completion and the retention? Now you all already know SQC 1. And audit file as discussed in SA 230, you will be discussing that 60 days wala concept, 7 years wala. Okay. Information that can be used by the auditor as audit evidence includes both information contained in accounting records underlying the financial statement and other information. Explain. See, direct questions. So Parth is saying he has practiced 4 questions by writing and it has helped him to increase his confidence. So good, Parth, and I expect the same from other students also. Okay. CA Ajay, 4th question. CA Ajay is the statutory auditor of XYZ Limited. During the course of audit, CA Ajay found that litigation is going against the company, for which company has hired an external legal team, that is management expert. See, this management expert now I have given you for your reference. This point may not be present. Okay, if you get this question, like I have given this management expert for your help only. See, Ajay wanted to use the information prepared by using the management expert as audit evidence. What should CAA consider? The competence, capability, objectivity, obtain an understanding, remember, and see whether that work is useful for the purpose or not. Okay? Explain various factors affecting the auditor's judgment as to sufficiency of audit evidence. You remember materiality, risk of material misstatement, and size of population. Remember? Discuss the concept of risk assessment procedures and further audit procedures. You will write the definition here. You will write about test of control and substantive procedures. Ownership of audit documentation, SQC 1. Okay? In order to obtain audit evidence, an auditor performs number of audit procedures, any of the 2. Simple. 9th question. The auditor's substantive procedures shall include certain audit procedures responsive to what? Financial statement reporting process. We have seen that first of all, he'll see whether financial statement tally with what? The underlying financial records. He'll also look at the material adjustments. Remember? Okay. 10th question. What assertions are used by the auditor to consider different types of potential misstatement with respect to varied account balances? Okay, as at the period with respect to what? Account balances. The question is with respect to account balances. Explain the objectives of the auditor with respect to written representation. First of all, to obtain written representation with respect to management's responsibility. Then to support other audit evidence. And last was what? To respond appropriately. Remember? So Mrs. Suraj and Associates are the statutory auditor of Yuvraj Limited for this year. During the course, CA Suraj, the engagement partner, requested management of the company to provide written representation with respect to valuation of a transaction. However, the management did not provide the what course of action should CA Suraj follow in such a situation? Management has refused to provide you with written representation. See, this question number 10 can always come for question number 12. Okay? Part on your request. See, question. See, this may carry 3 marks. है. So you will have to write all the 3 points कि discuss करना है management के साथ, reevaluate the integrity, remember. So 3 marks question can be this. What factors should be considered by the auditor while designing confirmation request as per SA 505? ठीक है, it may be for 4 marks. So what are the factors? Remember, if anyone can just answer this question quickly, students. Send in your replies. Students, many of you are saying that, ma'am, everything is clearly understood. We are able to answer. That is good. But that means that you have understood properly. Okay? Now start learning, start practicing by writing the answers. Okay? So what kind of information, what assertion the auditor need to assess? Remember? Students, send in your replies with respect to question number 13. The prior experience of the auditor, the method of communication, management's, yes, layout, risk of material misstatement. Tanu, you are correct. Okay. What is negative confirmation? See, a very important question. 4 marks ke liye directly it can come. What is negative confirmation? Then when can auditor send it as a sole audit procedures? Hana? You remember we discussed when risk of material misstatement is less, when internal controls are good. Okay. Then when the auditor does not feel that the third party is going to disregard the request, when the expected rate of deviation is less, and when the population is large with small homogeneous account balances or transactions. Remember? So what is the objective of the auditor with respect to opening balances? Initial audit engagement. As per relevant essay, quickly tell me what was the relevant essay, what is the relevant essay? Essay 510, initial audit engagement. ठीक है, correct. Dora, Parth, Sandeep, Tanu, Sonu, correct. ठीक है. So write short note on reliability. It depends upon the source and nature. Okay, so you'll write about source, internal, external. You'll write about visual, documentary, oral. Okay, explain briefly the assertions used by the auditor to consider potential misstatement about presentation and disclosure. Don't get confused. Don't start writing about, accounting balances or transactions. This is for presentation and disclosure. Okay. How should an auditor, students, if you have any query with respect to a particular question, send that. Segment information, inquire management, read the minutes. Remember, segment information, auditor will understand the methods, obtain an understanding, perform analytical review procedures. Okay. What are the auditor's obligations with respect to facts which become aware after the date of the auditor's report but before the date of financial statements are issued? So you'll write as such there is no obligation on the auditor to perform the audit procedures, but yes, if he becomes aware and that is so significant that would have led him to amend his audit report, what he'll do, he'll discuss with management. He'll see the implications, whether amendment is required, and he'll discuss with management how they want to address the matter. ठीक है. Then what are the implications on the auditor's report when using the going concern? Quickly tell me what kind of report opinion should be given. What are the implications of auditor's report when using going concern basis of accounting is appropriate? So GC is appropriate, but a material uncertainty exists. So this will be divided into two parts, that management agrees to disclose, management is not disclosing. Okay? So if management agrees to disclose unmodified with a new paragraph, okay, with respect to material uncertainty related to going concern. And if management refuses to disclose, then what will auditor do? Auditor will give a qualified or adverse opinion, and the basis will be given in basis of qualified or adverse opinion paragraph. Okay? So just a minute. There is a query with respect to question number 9. So my PDF is hang now. Just a minute. Students, if you have any other query, do send that query to me. I'll just have a look at question number 9 because the PDF was not working there. So descriptive question number 9. Let me just have a look. Meanwhile, send in your replies. So question number 9 is what the auditor's substantive procedure shall include certain audit procedure related to financial statement closing process. Okay, I'll take you through the required topic in the module. Just a minute. Whose query is this? Sandeep. So Sandeep, the answer is this. Substantive procedures relating to financial statement closing process. Question number 9. Okay. Disbursement is payments. Tanu, disbursement is what? Payments. Okay. So we have discussed the descriptive questions and MCQ. I would request you all to go through the case scenarios, Hana, because now we have it is already 8:52. So quickly tell me, is there any particular doubt which you need me to explain to you again, or you want any essay which are left which you want me to revise quickly? Okay. And students, I'll again repeat what sir has said, that learning is important. So start learning the definitions and the technique that sir has told you to, learn definitions, 5 definitions, then move on to 10 definitions and then revise. Okay. So do that in the manner which has been advised. Try to follow all the strategies that sir has discussed, Rajiv sir has discussed, or he will be discussing with you as and when he'll be coming for the further interactions with you. Okay. So again, I would like all of you to please tell me if you want me to revise any particular essay. So students, start learning, and it's good part if you are able to solve the case scenarios also. I have uploaded the answer sheets, the answer also, whereby all the answers with respect to case scenarios, MCQs, everything is mentioned. Okay. So there is a request from the student to discuss initial audit engagement. So I'll do one thing for today. I'll revise the last essay, which is initial audit engagement, essay 510, and then we'll end this session. Okay. And we'll be meeting later on for the other chapters. So what is essay 510? So it is initial audit engagement, opening balances. So we have understood that auditor has certain responsibility towards what? Opening balance in case of initial audit engagement. What is initial audit engagement? Where the financial statements were not audited or they were audited by some predecessor auditor. Okay? So unless and until auditor is sure about the opening balances, he cannot give his opinion on the closing balances. Okay? So first of all, he'll see whether the opening balances contain any material misstatement that has an effect on the current year financial statements, and whether appropriate accounting policies are reflected, and if they are not consistently applied, then whether presentation and disclosure has been done as per applicable FRF. So what will auditor do? He will read the most recent financial statements and auditor's report that is available, and he will see whether the closing balance of the last year has been correctly brought forward to this year. He will see whether opening balances reflect the application of appropriate accounting policies, and he'll perform certain audit procedures. Like we discussed that with respect to current and assets and current liability, he need not perform specific audit procedures. Whatever audit procedures he's conducting during the current year, that may help him to obtain audit evidence with respect to the opening balances. With respect to other, he may perform specific audit procedures. And he find that the opening balances contain a material misstatement that could affect, then perform alternate procedures, additional audit procedures. And if he conclude that there is a misstatement, then consider the effect in SA 705. Further, since an misstatement has been identified, so auditor shall consider his responsibilities under SA 450. SA 450, which is what? Evaluation of misstatements identified during the audit. Same way, if the accounting policies are not consistent, then also he'll consider what? Perform additional audit procedures, and then he'll consider the effect in SA 705. If there is a modification in the predecessor's auditor report and that still affects the current year's financial statement, that modification is still relevant, and for this year also, he'll consider it where under SA 315, and he'll modify his opinion under SA 705. And if auditor is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence with respect to opening balances, let's say their documents with respect to the last year, they have been destroyed by fire, he's unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence with respect to the opening balances, he'll give what? He'll modify his opinion under SA 705. Now, what kind of opinion is to be given? That you will be seeing in detail in chapter number 11. Okay? So with this, there are queries. Chaitanya ma'am, please explain. So Vrinda is asking, ma'am, with respect to the descriptive questions. See, with respect to the answers to descriptive question, I have written that we will be discussing that in class, that we have done. Okay? Since Vrinda is saying that she needs me to write answers in the page numbers or the paragraph number, I'll do one thing. I'll upload the answers of the descriptive questions also by mentioning the relevant paragraph number. Okay? So I'll be referring to the page numbers or the paragraph numbers of the latest module, that is for May 22, which is available on your website. Okay? So adverse opinion, Dora, it means that financial statement do not reflect a true and fair view, and it is given under SA 705, and in detail the discussion will be held in chapter number 11. Okay? Students, please tell me whether you are able to understand the entire chapter number 3. I have tried my level best to simplify the chapter and to take you through each and every page of the, or you can see each and every line, standards that has been given in your module. But my efforts will be fruitful when you will read, you will learn the definitions as sir has told you, and you will devote some time towards learning. Okay? So let me just have a look at your query, and meanwhile also send me whether you are able to understand or not. Chalo, ठीक है. So with this, I'll end my session for today, and thank you again for your patient listening and today giving me extra 30 minutes. Thank you so much. Students, start learning. it is very 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 important. ठीक है? So thank you and good night.